Well, none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots, yeah. None of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots. I'm telling you now, the truth, the truth. Telling you, yeah, the truth, the truth. You have to go back to the roots, the roots. Go to the roots, to the roots. Yeah, man, you know, this is Benjamin out of the Smiling Coast, West Africa, Gambia, representing for the one and only Abu, the big man you don't know. The Soninke warrior, the man that brings the truth. Soninke warrior, the sign of enlightenment. The Soninke warrior, the righteous and the true African. Abu, reveal the truth to them, you know. No matter how they try to run from it, because none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Yes, we have to dig back the roots, yeah. Fire!
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Church of Pan-Africanism. Today, I'm going to talk about the art of begging in the United States of America, the history of begging, and then in the other half, we'll be talking about identity crisis amongst Africans. I mean, continental, but we would talk about the diaspora as well because the mindset is the same. And we're going to have the African Caribbean diaspora talks as the guests in the next hour, where we'll be talking about the identity crisis. I want to welcome all of you in the house: Bantu Queen, St. James, Supergirl, This is Africa, Patek Kamara. Welcome. So today, we're going to talk about the art of begging in the United States of America. You see, today, when you talk to many black people, for example, in the United States, they would present themselves as victims. But this is not only black people in America. If you are African, you guys know Africans also have this victimhood mindset. But now, back in Africa, various African countries, the idea, about an African traveling to Europe or America, you are there, basically to be a cash cow. You are there, people expect you to provide for them. So that's the expectation. So now it blows our mind, African people's mind, if they see, like, let's say some of the black people that are saying they are going to Africa and they are begging Africans. But now, I want to give you a little history how this begging now is not such a big deal. And this is going to blow your mind because the information you're going to get here, you won't get this anywhere, because you have people who will try to tell you the history of slavery. They are just telling you fake history. Because think about it for a minute. Ask yourself this question. How come every single time they are talking about slavery, it's like every black person is destitute, every black person is a victim? There is no black person who, it was free, who have their own mindset. But as a black person in the United States, if you ask yourself, think about it. Back in the days when black people were enslaved in the southern part of the United States, in the plantations, back then, black people had their families. They believed in God. They raised their own children. In 1865, after the Civil War, when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, and they said, now black people are free. They went through the Reconstruction. Think about this for a minute, people. At that time, all all the odds were against black people. Because if you think about it, they brought black people from Africa. They weren't free, they were slaves. So they were brought here to America, to the plantations. And if people were of the same tribes or from the same areas, they would make sure they don't take them to the same states, because they would be able to collaborate and revolt against their white plantation masters. Because if you look at in the Caribbean, places like Haiti, Jamaica, the reason, and most of those islands, the reason why the revolt was easier, because those people, the Africans there, are generally from the same places in Africa. So it was easier for them to revolt. But now, if let's say somebody is a Igbo and I'm a Soninke, for instance, we can't speak each other's language. Now, we will have to learn the slave master's language so that we be able to communicate with one another. That puts the slave master in control. So that's what black people were in for about 250 years. But fast forward, after slavery, Reconstruction, those same blacks were able to build wealth. They continue to build families. It wasn't like today. You come all the way to, you have the Jim Crow era in the South. And, this really, it didn't stop black people from doing their own thing. In fact, black people had their own economy. They had their own schools, their own shopping areas. They had their own banks. So black people were independent. So if you think about it for a minute, these black people, most of them were even born in slavery. They were born in slavery. So despite all the odds, I'm talking back in the days in the South, they had laws, they call them the sundown laws, where a black person, when the sun comes down and you're caught in that town, you are in violation. You see? But the blacks back in those days were able to still be able to be free with their families. They didn't allow anyone to tell them what to do. Even with the Jim Crow laws back there in the South, let me tell you, it was other, quote unquote, educated liberal blacks who came. They said, okay, fine. They want to be like the white people. They start saying, oh, you have to allow us black people to go to white schools. Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me you were educated throughout your life from black school to now you make it to those white colleges? No problem, you're fine. But now think about it. If you read the things they were pushing, mind you, this is not the regular black person's mindset, okay? I'm not saying bad things weren't happening. They were, of course, they had the KKK very active in the South at the time. So they said, oh, you have to let us blacks to come to your school. So these are the educated people. They call themselves civil rights activists. So that's where the begging started. You see, black people were doing just fine in their own schools. Then they say, oh, okay. So every time you look, they have a picture of one little black girl. Now, they've taken this black girl from her happy black school and completely traumatized her. They had, white people on both sides of, of the streets, just yelling hate at this little girl. You see? They were yelling. That's trauma. Think about that. So right then and there, these people have argued to keep black people in an inferior position, to make it seem like now black people have to look up to white people. That's how they started creating that culture and fostering it, making it an institutionalized thing. Yeah, Audrey, I know about the 3/5. We'll come to that eventually. I'm trying to break down the history of, Hotep beggary, how it became official. So now, they say black people gotta enter those schools. They're like, okay, come on in. Next thing, they say, oh, we want to move into white people's neighborhood. And the white people are like, okay, this is getting crazy, y'all. And the black people started protesting up and down, up and down. And then the white people were like, okay, y'all can come on in now. So they moved into the neighborhoods. And the white people notice they are moving in. When they are coming, now they are bringing, there's a lot of single women coming with children, with no fathers, but they would bring grown adults, drug dealers, murderers, they do all sorts of things that doesn't go with society. So you have the white people neighborhood was nice and clean. The grass was green. Pretty soon the grass dies. Crime is up and up. And then the white people leave. When the white people leave, they say, oh, that's white flight. So you're going to come, you're going to shoot up the neighborhood, you're going to rob, steal, kill. Then I'm saving my life and you want to shame me for that. That's another tactic of begging. But there's different levels of begging, because now they've mastered it. Because in schools, most blacks, this, if you ask them what degree they have, it's in social sciences, sociology, psychology, stuff like that. But others have mastered it. But you also have low-level beggars, panhandlers, and you have even white people who do this. But the begging didn't stop there. I'm talking even still in the 60s. Then they say, oh, white people, y'all gotta let us have the white woman. They begged for the white woman. And the white people are like, oh, now you're taking this too far. Black people are like, if you don't let us be with the white woman, then you are racist. The white people are like, okay, you can have the white woman now. And they let the black people have the white woman. Okay? That's what the current trend is. Okay? So now, all these things, they would say, show us pictures. They're like, see, oh, the white people will not let black people eat in their restaurants. Look, one thing I would never do is beg someone to let me eat in their restaurant. Because I know if I had to beg you to let me in, the food you'll be serving me will not be palatable. The coffee would be filled with tobacco spit, black coffee. Do you guys know how stupid it is to force somebody to make you food? It's not logical. But now you see, during this time, I'm telling you, many black people were independent. Go back and look. You're going to see so many black businesses in major cities. I'm not making this up. All these shootings and this stuff that you're seeing, these are new stuff. This came around after the crack era. We will hit that at some point. But I'm telling you about God-fearing, noble black people. The people that today media try to present to you as weak people. You have hoteps who have, tried, right now, they're presenting themselves as these individuals. This is why I'm taking you down this road to give you the history here so you would be able to compare and contrast what these people are trying to tell you. So you'll have a reference point. So now they were able to do all that. They got the white woman. They're able to move into the colleges. Now they've removed the SAT. Now that brings us to the hoteps. But you guys know the tradition here. Before we get into the hotep beggary, in fact, we also have an African beggar, Nigerian to be specific. And we would be analyzing that video also. We have a white man begging, panhandling, but you will see all these interviews. A few black men begging, but these are the hotep prophets. You'll be familiar with some of them. So I don't want to keep you waiting. Let us, have the choir take us to where we need to be.
Did y'all hear that? Quaker Grits is $20 million a year off black folks. Quaker Grits. Can I have your grit money for 1 year? Give me your grit money for 1 year and I will build 10 schools across this country. Give me your grits. Give me your Quaker Grits. No more grits for 1 year. Can we sacrifice our grits for 1 year? Can we sacrifice the grits? If you give me the grits, 19 million on Quaker Grits. $19 million on Quaker Grits, black folk, if you give me your Quaker Grits. Give me your grit money. I don't want your Louis bag money. I don't want your Mercedes money. I don't want your weave, perm, haircut, Ed Jordan, Timberland money. Give me your grits. We spend $19 million a year on grits, and I don't have enough money to renovate the Garvey building. I don't have enough money to renovate the Garvey building. And we spending $19 million on grits. Go to your Cash App, $FDMG School right now. Go to your Cash App, $FDMG School right now. Go to your Cash App and make a Labor Day donation to the future of black boys. $FDMG School. Get on your Cash App. Get on.
That's the Prince of Pan-Africanism himself, one of the present-day prophets of begging. You guys have heard the message. He wants black people to give him their grits money. Give me your grits money for 1 year so I can build you a school. Did you guys hear that? But now, these are the experts. He's even attaching it to the white man's holiday, Labor Day, monetizing it through beggary. But he's a professional, right? He's online. But what about those who are not online? Those who do it physically? Who's going to bring you guys that information? That's where I come into play. I'm going to play this little short documentary that I made myself. But I want you to just kick back and watch how different cultures, beg. It depends on entitlement and what sort of things they use. So you can recognize this. So, first, in fact, we will start with the white man, because it will be disrespectful if I don't start with the white man. The white man built the internet. The white man built everything. So I want to show the white man respect. Yeah, I know it's going to piss off some black haters that are here, that I'm speaking of, about how the white man built everything, how the white man built the greatest country on this side of heaven. Yet they say they hate America, but they would never leave America. We will get to that in the identity crisis part. And also, we would also talk about the Negropean's mindset. Does he have a Eurocentric mindset or an African mindset? Does the Negropean, is he pretending to, like, he likes the idea of this African, being an African, but yet doesn't like the African culture itself? Because the Himba culture is not a representation of even Namibia, the country itself, much more the whole of Africa. But he wanted to add his own form of thinking to it. This is what he is telling us. But this is not about that. Possibly in the identity section, we would talk about that. But let's go into the panhandling documentary that I made. These are real people, by the way. No paid actors here. This is in the middle of a beautiful city where these bums have set up their own city with no problem. So you can see it's not a racial thing. When I tell you it's not racial, these bums here, these are white bums, all white, setting up their own camp, talking about we're living off the grid. No, you're just a loser. You cannot handle the pressure. Now you want to live off of us taxpayers. Now you're defacing this once beautiful city. I cannot wait till we could vote in people who have the kahunas to send these people to whatever caves they came from. What's your name?
My name is Tim.
What?
Tim.
Tim?
Yeah, Tim.
So Tim, what would you tell anybody that wants to come to America that thinks that this is the land of opportunity, like everybody is rich here, people have compassion, helpful, like what would you tell them to keep in mind?
America's government is controlled by an evil empire that is trying to dominate the world. They're fucking everybody over, including their own people. There are a lot of poor people here. There are children with no shoes. There are people going hungry, usually because they don't know how to find food. There's a lot of food in this country, yes, but I have to get it out of the trash. I eat out of the trash every goddamn day. I see people sleeping on the sidewalks. I've been traveling for years and years around this country. I've been in every state except for Alaska. I've jumped freight trains and I hitchhike. And I live outside by choice because I don't want to live within the system, the artificial system that they impose. This system, what it does, it forces people to work generally in very minimum wage labor jobs where they only have enough money to pay their rents and to get enough food. always in fear of losing their...
God forbid. God forbid I get a minimum wage job, work my way up, pay my bills just like everyone else. Oh no, the people who pay bills are the losers, right? But he just told you he's homeless by choice. Let's hear more.
They have to bend over backwards to keep their job, and it's just some stupid shit, low-level job that doesn't even matter, like flipping burgers or something. One person may be more talented than that, but you have to go to college for like years and years and years.
Yes, Bantu Queen. Afridamus was out in the streets getting the information for all of you. So, you know, I want you guys to get the real, raw deal. The real deal, not the made-up one, not the feeling one. So, let's hear more of Tim here.
In order to get better jobs, and even then it's no guarantee. There is an elite in this country. There are people who have been in control and will stay in control for a long fucking time.
So,
and they keep that power structure in place.
So
the
Tim,
poor stay poor, and it's not really opportunity quite so much as just coming into another cage.
So Tim, when people generally walk by, right, and just pretend like you are not even there, and you know, growing up, you've heard that this society is a society that's filled with compassion and empathy. From your experience, what would you say to people?
Well, I mean, I could sit on the sidewalk and ask like 50 people for change. Eventually, somebody will give me like a little bit of change. And generally, I use it to buy alcohol. I do. I get food out of the trash, and there's a lot of addiction. The government also supplies drugs to the people in this country. They got a big drug trade thing going on. They don't want to talk about. That's why they went into Afghanistan on the poppy fields.
So you guys remember last week I was on Mr. Uganda's show. I called those Africans losers. They got mad, right? So this guy is so smart. He knows about how the United States government brings drugs, but yet he couldn't save himself from those drugs. He eats out of the trash. He's living outside by choice, right? So he's so smart. He knows a lot of things, but you see, one thing I like about him, he's honest, straightforward. I don't, you know, some of his ideas are pretty crazy, but at least he has a good spirit. He's willing to talk. But you guys are going to find out. Some bums are completely different by the time this documentary ends. Get your tissues and your popcorns.
They went into Vietnam. They were shipping like bundles of heroin back in the soldiers' caskets so they could sell it on the streets and arrest people for having it. It's a very much it's a control system. It's a caste system. It's very gentrified. It's very much set along lines of money. And people with a lot of money won't talk to the people who don't have any money unless they think they can use them somehow. Yeah, it's sad. And they also, our media is very, very divisive in the way they try to do things about race, whether black or white or Mexican or any color. They always try to set us against each other, because they know that if we stand together and we recognize our common enemy, then they couldn't stand against us.
So Tim, like, when you hear Africa, what do you think of African people when you hear Africa? What comes to mind?
It's the roots. It's a cradle of civilization. That's where we all came from originally. That's where.
No, but from like the propaganda,
from
from how they show, like the stuff they show on TV.
The only thing they show on TV about Africa and America is the worst of the worst. They show poverty. They show people dying. They show starving Ethiopian children. They show the wars, and they tell us horror stories about people being raped and brutalized. And just terrible, awful shit. And we don't really hear any of the good stuff, honestly. I've seen a lot of documentaries on TV about Africa and other countries, and they generally just publicize the bad stuff, none of the good stuff.
So somebody like Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation, they are very active in Africa. And some African activists believe that their motive is to depopulate Africa. So as somebody who's homeless here, and you see a lot of homeless people, and Bill Gates live just probably a few miles from here, do you think his efforts are sincere, or they are really trying to deceive Africans?
I think Bill Gates is a piece of shit and a liar, and he's probably trying to euthanize and kill people. I know they use chemical weapons and programs and diseases against their own people. I mean, of course they're going to use them against other countries. I went out to the Rainbow Gathering recently down in Oregon, and everybody who went there got sick. You got planes flying overhead, leaving trails that stay in the sky for days, and everybody's really, really sick. What are we supposed to think? I've seen it happen before, too. And, yeah, I don't trust the inoculation thing. I don't think Bill Gates has anybody's best interest in mind except his own wealth. And, yeah, those upper echelon people, once they get to a certain level of rich, they separate themselves from the human race.
Well, Tim, thank you so much. So do you plan on joining regular society anytime soon? Or?
Oh, God, no. I'm going to go out in the woods and live at a primitive anarchist level. I just need to find a community of like-minded individuals. And we're going to go out and just live. Like, I was going up to Canada with a friend of mine, but we just split apart. But I still plan on joining a self-sufficient community with people. I think small communities work better. Big countries get way too top-heavy, and they once the elite, once the people in power get to a certain level, they forget where they came from. How do I put this? They don't understand what it's like to suffer. If you've never been hungry, you don't know what it's like to be hungry. So
Right.
They just judge us, and they don't know why we act the way we do.
Well, Tim, thank you so much. Thanks for talking to me, and I wish you all the best.
I hope that helps.
All right, take care.
Wasn't that interview great? But now, check out this next interview. You see, Tim was nice. He was pleasant to talk to. Great conversation. He wasn't blaming anyone. He talked about facts. He even told me where he spends his money. But now let's check out this other person. Let's see how entitled this next individual is.
So what is your sign about?
Oh, nothing in particular, sir. What do
So
you think it is?
condition to hide behind skin?
White people.
White people?
White people, white people, white people, white people. It's about to drop. Watch.
Conditioned to hide behind their skin.
What do you mean by that?
Because the word white stands for something of power. Clean, pure, without a blemish, perfect. All those good kind words.
So you gave it, you're the one.
I'm showing them that, I'm showing not only my people, but other people that they're conditioned to hide behind their color of their skin because it represents a power.
So by the way, this guy was on the sidewalk harassing white people. In fact, he's panhandling, as you can see the $5 in his hand. So he's lecturing white people. He's a pan-Africanist. He's lecturing white people about how they're hiding behind their skin color while begging them at the same time. So now I'm asking him question, and you see how he walked so up close into my face. Watch how the questions that he is going to be posing to me. Mind you, I'm a taxpayer in this city. I pay lots of taxes. But this bum is questioning me. Watch.
Of perfection.
So you don't want them to be perfect?
No, well, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
But did white people, are they saying that
In this country, they do. Are you from this country?
Well, pretty much.
How long you been here?
Oh,
I've been here 60 years.
Yeah, I've lived.
Born and raised in the school system.
No, I know. I've lived.
This is Africa. Yeah. I know he's wearing a Patagonian coat. Yes. Yeah. The logo. Watch that. A Patagonian coat. Go look up how much that is and come back to me. For over 20 years, I've raised children here too.
Yeah. It's
So-
very racist here.
Well, define racism.
Hidden. It's hidden. They don't like it simply because you're dark. That's why. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. Simply because you're dark.
So-
That's stupid, ignorant.
So, mind you, he's telling me how he thinks of himself. He's projecting that onto white people. You should ask yourself, like, this man is a 60-year-old man. He is willing to come on the street and beg white people. He has so much anger against white people, but begging them at the same time. He is completely lost in his Patagonian, jacket and his nice shades. Yeah. Think about it, like, only in America where the bomb looks like this, all looking flyed out, got his shades on, he's got the music, he's got his sign telling white people about themselves, about how they're hiding behind their skin color. And if truly black people, what they tell you to say, as much as they say white people are racist, this man is able to do this. And this is around majority whites. He's the one by himself, single-handedly harassing white people. But the poor white people, they just walk past him. And you see, still there are white people that gave him money. Believe it or not. You're seeing the money in his hand. White people are still giving him money. I remember I was writing a paper, when I was in the 13th grade. No, I was in the 14th grade. That's college, by the way. I was writing a paper about the Hebrew Israelites. I went to I went to downtown and found them, and they were preaching over there. And they were like preaching about how white people are going to hell. And there were white people watching them, and they had a little donation basket, and the white people were still donating to them. Isn't that wild? So who's more tolerant, white people or black people? Do you think KKK members can go to black neighborhoods or even white neighborhoods around the city where I'm at and preach the same thing as the Hebrew Israelites? No. But in downtowns, the white people would not just only allow it to happen. They would donate to them. And that made me wonder. I'm like, white people, they don't take black people serious. Because it's like they're feeling like, oh, it's just a little cute puppy. He's in his Patagonian jacket, in his Ray-Bans, with his music, sign telling us about how great we are. He's saying we hide behind our skin condition. I mean, can't you see some white people thinking like that? Just like it's so cute. Because they are donating money to him. Mind you, this guy's whole panhandling scheme is based around harassing white people. And these same white people donate to him. They are not calling the cops on him. In fact, the cops walk by. He tells the white cops too that they're hiding behind their skin color. But yet America is so racist. Let's continue.
In my opinion.
Okay.
Because you haven't given the person a chance.
So like when you say giving a chance, like, are you saying like white people should be given?
Come on, use your common sense, bro.
Well, no, I'm asking.
What do you think they should do?
No,
you tell me what they should do.
No, because this is I'm actually having like a genuine conversation. Because
they know the right thing to do. They don't want to do
because you want them to hear it, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking you these questions that it's about an actual conversation.
But I'm telling you this too, bro.
Yeah,
it's a waste of time because white people are not going to change. And this is...
It's a waste of time. White people are not going to change. But yet he's got the sign trying to tell white people about changing. So this guy doesn't need a solution. He said, use your common sense. Think about it. Why did he tell me to use my common sense? He's talking about the black common sense. He's assuming just because my skin is black, all black people think alike. And you notice he's not projecting hard work and doing for self to me. He is only projecting weakness. This man, he's 60, but he's very strong, physically fit. He can work and make lots of money. But he doesn't have to be a baiter to come out here and be so disgraceful. He's a beggar, by the way. The white guy, he's a beggar too, panhandler, but you see, at least he's pleasant to talk to. He's not there blaming society, trying to lecture people. You see, this is why I told you the history of the art of beggary, how the hoteps took it to a whole new level. In fact, I will show you a video of a Nigerian too who was begging. And she displays the classical way of how most Africans do their begging when they do. You notice the white man, he was just himself, natural. This other guy here, the black man, aggression, entitlement, trying to use shaming tactic. But you will see what tactic the African use, continental African, for that matter. And, by the way, a lot of them do that. If some of you that's come across it, you will see that Afridamus is right. And in fact, let me tell you something. There are some people who they would try to act like, oh, this guy is so messed up for this. Why is this guy showing us this? But they drive past this every day. They see it. They know it. They are annoyed by it. But yet, they don't want this for themselves. In fact, they would prefer if they can just have a magic wand and make them poof, gone. I mean, seriously, like, if you're walking down the street in the city, you're minding your own business, you're walking around, you're like, oh, I'm looking for this sushi place, oh, the ice cream place. You're walking and, like some of you ladies, this is an area where you would mostly probably, and like, go there for a date or something. And you're all dressed up, you're walking around and you're looking for the restaurant or wherever you're supposed to meet, this person. And then, boom, this guy shows up with his sign. That's the last thing you need. You would be annoyed and flustered. Negative energy. But you see, like Tim right there, he's not harassing you. In fact, he is sitting down to show that I come in peace. Not because human interactions, you have to know how you come at people. He's not even creative. For example, I played the Prince of Pan-Africanism, his way of begging. Yes, I'm not attaching any judgment to it because truly, he's not putting a gun to anyone's head. He's not forcing anyone. In fact, he's very entertaining. We have to be honest about that. But now, you have some that just rub you the wrong way. And he is one of those people. And you're going to see the Nigerian woman as well. And you tell me if you would want to associate yourself to that.
This is a waste of my time.
But
they're not going to change, brother. So this is a waste of my time. That's how I see it. They're not going to change. Okay? Have a great day.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So you've seen that. So now, let me bring the Nigerian woman begging in Canada. So I said America, but it's the same thing as North America. Same type of culture. But before we go to that, I'm going to replay a video of another professional who's mastered this game. In fact, sorry, no. Here's another one I'm going to bring you. Because you know some places here in the United States, places like Oakland, they have passed reparation. This is around the San Francisco area. Quote unquote reparation. So you could go to the store and rob. Why do I say it's reparation? You can steal up to $1,000. It's not going to be a felony. So places like Seattle, Oakland, San Francisco, like all these liberal cities, they have those laws. So now black people, some of the black bums are taking advantage of this. I'll show you a guy who took his bike. He went past the begging. He went shopping. Check this out.
Call 911. Wow.
Did you guys see that? That's real, by the way. Let me show you this Nigerian woman, doing her thing. Give me a second here. One moment. Let's see. Oh man. Sometimes I wish I had an assistant. But then you end up getting an assistant, they mess up everything. You see? Come on. Oh, there. Boom.
This black bitch out there trying to scam.
So this is a Nigerian woman in Toronto, Canada, getting confronted by a black diasporan. So watch their interaction, and the guy, he's straightforward, he's honest, and see the Nigerian woman's art of beggary. And this guy, completely destroys her tactics. Because, again, I'm going to repeat, when people leave Africa to the Western world, the people back there, they are not expecting you to go there to be a beggar. They expect you to be, be a dignified person. But it's for some people, it's not the environment. They just have lower form of thinking. They have no problem of having self-dignity, awareness. They would take on the lowest form of human thinking. And it has absolutely nothing to do with skin color, by the way. Or what? I mean, for some cultures, right? Some cultures, they accept things like this. They don't shame it. One thing about me, I noticed from the time I was a little boy, I never respected beggars. I never did. Up till today, I don't. Because God gave you 2 hands, gave you a brain, eyesight. Start digging. But you expect me to go dig, right? Find the gold and give you the gold. This is why many people are telling you. So this woman, you will see, when she was probably leaving Nigeria to go to Canada, it was a celebration. People were happy for her. It's like, oh, now your life is changed. Now your condition is going to be better. But now let's see how she's living in Canada. And this is not a representation of all Nigerians, by the way.
People for money. They get enough money from the government. They get enough money from the government that she still wants to out there trying to be a professional panhandler. No dignity, no self-respect. Let me go and see what she wants. I'm gonna see her, try to tease her a bit. Okay. How much money do you need?
Lord, I need $20 to buy groceries to feed my son.
You need.
He's 14 years old.
You need $20.
Yes,
Okay, so what about the government? What, doesn't the government give you money?
They give very little. It's
Huh?
not enough. They give very little.
Doesn't the government give you money?
Yeah, they give very little.
Little?
I have to pay my house rent. I have to pay my fees. At the end of the day, the money remains
Yeah.
very little.
Oh, okay. Where you come from?
Nigeria.
Nigeria?
Yeah.
Nigeria? So why are you here for? Why did you leave Nigeria?
I came here to have a good life. I went to school.
Did you guys see how she changed her face to pretend to try to garner sympathy? She came there to change her life with begging, but I like how this guy stands his ground. You came there to change your life through panhandling. Are you serious?
York University.
Yeah.
I had a job. The job finished. I've not been able to get a new job. Things are very hard for me and my son.
Oh, so you come from Nigeria to Canada to get a good life?
Yes.
To live a good life?
Yes, brother.
Why can't you live a good life in Nigeria?
The economy is very bad.
The economy is bad?
Yeah.
Okay, so why are you, let me ask you a question. Why are you Africans, why are you Africans running from Africa to Europe, to Canada, to America, to live with the white man? Why?
The economy at home is very bad, brother.
Huh? Because the economy?
Yeah.
So you mean?
So you notice her tears dried up real quick. Lift every voice. He said, if you don't pack up and go back to Gambia tomorrow, you just debunked your own platform. Don't worry. Stick around. You're going to find out how I did not debunk my own platform. Okay? So this woman, so you would see this with a lot of Africans who want to garner sympathy. Like the blacks in the diaspora, they would blame the white man. The Africans, they would blame the government. The lazy ones would tell you about all the failures of the government. Okay, great. You no longer live in that environment. Now, what's the excuse? In fact, this woman is saying that not only does she live in Canada, that government seemed to be paying her just for being a breathing and a living human being. You see, over there in Africa, they don't do that. I don't know of any place except South Africa. Apparently the blacks there are able to shame the white people to give them free money, just like in America.
People in Africa, you can't run your own economy?
There's a lot of corruption.
African Caribbean diaspora. Check your email.
Huh? Lots of corruption.
The government
So a lot of corruption. So you guys can't get along with each other. So you run from Africa to Europe to live with the white people because you can't manage your own country. Is that right?
Brother, the government.
I don't understand why you Africans keep running away from Africa.
So this lady, she says she ran away from Nigeria. And now she's in Canada, safe. She didn't have to put herself in this position, embarrassing herself like this. Even her form of begging is not entertaining. It's annoying. So, this guy's got a point. You said you ran away from a place where the government is corrupt. And now you're here. And he's correct. How come Africans cannot get along with each other and run the government? And we will get to that in the next segment. Because in about, after this ends, the African Caribbean talks would be coming on for our discussion, and we'll break down the next video. So let's hear what this woman is trying to say here. She blamed the Nigerian government. She doesn't live in Nigeria anymore.
To come to live with the white man. Why can't you take care of your own country? Why?
It's very tough, brother.
Huh?
It's very tough. The government is very hard.
Yeah, but I don't.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right. I'll put you in the background here for a second, okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Give me 1 second.
Agree with Africans coming from Africa, to Canada, to America, running from Africa because you can't manage your own country. Why can't you manage your own country?
The government is very hard.
Yeah.
I just told you about the government. The government has to manage the economy for the citizens, but they are not doing so. The government is not doing so.
The economy?
Yeah.
So you mean you people in Africa, you can't run your own economy?
There's a lot of corruption.
Huh?
Ma'am, you run away from corruption, quote unquote, and you're in Canada committing corruption. You see, this is what some of the Africans do. They would say, oh, over there in my country, the government is stealing everything. There is tribalism, nepotism, because you know the Africans use isms too. Human rights violation. One time I met this one woman. She's from Zimbabwe. And I said, oh, Mugabe, he seems to be doing good. Oh, God, a big mistake. She went off. She's like, oh, no, Mugabe killed my people. I am a Debele. Let me tell you, this is why when you meet Africans, they tell you their country, you guys got to be careful admiring the leaders. Make sure you test the temperature first, because I've seen some of you Westerners, Western diasporans, hailing some African presidents as heroes. You better be careful, because those people are seen as murderers. Those people are the Hitlers of their people. So when you are trying to promote that, having total disregard for who these people truly are, you try to lecture their own history to them, this is another problem that people, another barrier that people need to cross over. Just because you heard some guy, like you hear Idi Amin, you're like, yay, Idi Amin. But then you ask the most Ugandan people how they feel about Idi Amin. I bet you their opinion is different. I've even seen people big upping the former president of Gambia, Yahya Jammeh. But ask most Gambians how they feel about that. You'll find out. Let's hear this.
Lots of corruption.
The government
So a lot of corruption. So you guys can't get along with each other. So you run from Africa to Europe to live with the white people because you can't manage your own country. Is that right?
Let's see. Audrey said, so Afridamus, the white homeless man at the beginning, is the only one who did right. Well, it's not about right or wrong. I'm just showing you guys to see that different people from different cultures have different ways of panhandling. So the Nigerian lady is trying to use sympathy. But it would be hard because, in those, Save the African Children videos where they would show the kid with the pot belly, with the big head. The kid is so malnourished, weak. The kid is so much out of energy that they can't even lift their arm to fight away the flies. So they would show us those videos. You guys remember those videos, right? I used to watch those late at night. Like, I would see they would show, those commercials. For 30 cents a month, you can save an African child. And I'll be sitting there eating my Honey Nut Cheerios. I'm like, because I know they're making it up. But some of you fall for these things. I'm just here to show you. I'm not saying you can't help people, but you gotta help the right people. This woman is saying she escaped Nigeria. She went to Canada. She should be working and contributing to Canada's economy. But not only is the government giving her money, she's also panhandling from people, harassing the good people of Canada. Check this out.
Brother, the government.
I don't understand why you Africans keep running away from Africa to come to live with the white man. Why can't you take care of your own country? Why?
It's very tough, brother.
Huh?
It's very tough. The government is very hard.
Yeah, but I don't agree with Africans coming from Africa, to Canada, to America, running from Africa because you can't manage.
Look, I get it. Some of you are saying this guy is not black whatsoever. It doesn't matter. It sounds like he is. I mean, I don't know, because the woman kept referring to her as brother. But then again, African people would call somebody like her, especially a panhandler, they would call everybody brother or sister. So, who knows? Either way, he sounds angry. And I don't know, why is he angry? But you guys know why he's angry. But he doesn't need to be that angry. Just let the woman explain herself. Maybe she would find dignity in herself somehow and change her life. Maybe like some people, sometimes they just need to be shown so they can find dignity in themselves.
Your own country. Why can't you manage your own country?
The government is very hard.
Yeah.
I just told you about the government. The government has to manage the economy for the citizens, but they are not doing so. The government is not doing so.
The government is what?
The government is not managing the economy very well.
Okay. So you out here panhandling then, right?
Yes, brother.
I'm not your brother, okay? I'm not your brother. I'm an American, okay? So, anyways, have a good day.
See, but okay, hold on. I see that some of you are getting annoyed. Mimi is like, the guy, if he's not gonna give him anything, walk away. No, you can't just walk away. Like, the guy is right, confronting her about that. And I see some of you are saying he sounds Latino. I mean, it doesn't matter. He said he's an American. I'll take his word for it. He sounds like one. I'll take his word for it. Regardless, he sounds like somebody who he's an upstanding citizen of Canada. You see? So, you've seen, most of you, I think you're missing the point. You're saying, Afridamus, you're saying that this person did it right or wrong. I'm not here to talk about whether they did it right or wrong. I'm just showing you the different tactics that people use here in America, from professional tactic all the way to what we're seeing. But now we have African Caribbean diaspora here in the house. We'll get to another topic here. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Good, good, good. Welcome to the Afridamus Report.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So today, I know you know usually the type of topics I talk about, and you've seen the hotep baggery that I've shown here. Because a lot of the time that what most people don't realize is, right, these things that they're seeing, these techniques that they're seeing, is coming from afar, right?
What do you mean it's coming from afar? Meaning what?
Because if you notice, right, people are talking about. Have you heard people talk about slavery?
I mean, yeah.
And I remember you and we had a conversation once about slavery and reparation. Did you remember that?
I've had a lot of conversations. You might have to rejig my memory on that.
I believe this was, you know what? It was on another channel. I'm trying to think. But it doesn't matter.
Was
Today,
it a few days ago? Because I remember I went off on another live stream. I ended up venting and just expressed my frustration when people keep bringing up slavery as a means to, um, like a victim thing, which really irritates me. If you're talking
good.
about that, then yeah.
Okay, good. And before we get into this discussion here, I want you to give a little background about yourself. I know that you go by African diaspora, Caribbean, diaspora track. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
All right. Well, I'm known as ACDT. I'm born in the UK, second generation. My grandparents migrated to this country in the early 1960s. I'm of Jamaican and Barbadian background. I'm in my early 20s, and I mean, I've been on YouTube for about maybe 8 years, just kind of seeing this whole sort of pro-black, pan-African space. And just kind of over time, you look into it, you're around different spaces, and I've just become disillusioned really with a lot of this stuff because it just seems really fake. And I think like around this time, we're kind of seeing the true colors of a lot of this type of rhetoric and how it's leading. Um, yeah, I mean, if anything, just kind of, especially when it comes to this victimhood and begging narrative, I live in London, born and raised in London, not in the best of circumstances, single parent, dad didn't want to know, that type of thing.
Right.
But, my mum never made an excuse. She was, full-time parent, full-time working, poor, sit in the dark, no food, have to figure out where we're going to get food from, all that type of stuff. But she never made excuses.
Right. So you grew up in the UK. So now when you check on YouTube and you start seeing people that came from the same country as you, from the same background, I would assume growing up in London and living in London, you've, interacted with different African immigrants, I presume, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So you know that definitely there is a difference when it comes to culture. It's not just about the skin. There's definitely a difference between a person of a Nigerian tribe background and a Ghanaian or a Gambian, right?
Yeah, definitely a difference. I mean, I was lucky enough because the churches and stuff that I went to as a kid, just the area in itself and playing out with other kids, you get invited to your friend's house, oh, come for dinner, so on and so forth, and you see the different African nationalities and how they do things in their culture differently.
Right. So so now when you start seeing the Pan African stuff, right, where you see people that came from the UK, for instance, they are lecturing to Africans, like trying to tell Africans about Africans' own culture. How did that make you feel? Because I've seen you express a differing opinion from some of them, and because the way I see it, I've observed many conversations where many like this idea of the African, but without the actual African. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's like that's what, from what I've observed, that's a lot of diaspora people. Like, is you see when people talk all this African, it's like this one general umbrella of just, I'm gonna wear a kente cloth, and I'm gonna wear the hats that the Fulani wear, and I'm gonna play the djembe and celebrate Kwanzaa, and that's African. That's like what you see. Because in London you have hoteps as well.
Oh,
So you
trust
go
me,
to, yeah.
I've seen some of the you guys' hoteps too, because in fact there's an African group that like I'm part of the group there listening. So some of the hoteps are from London, and it's just amazing to me that the type of history that many they talk about is completely different from what the African history is, quote unquote,
Well, you
because
see,
it's not
this
based
is
in
what
slavery.
happens, Afridamus.
Yeah,
This is what happens with the UK hoteps. Like, what people have to understand, we when our grandparents came here, right?
right.
This wasn't a thing. If I was to go to my grandma right now, who's in the next room, and be like, "Granny, can you tell me about Imhotep and Unks and she'd be, what? What? What are you talking about? Like, this isn't a thing for them. This was not a thing for them.
Right.
But all of this Hotep and some of the cults that you get as well, like the Hebrew Israelites, the Nuwabians, a lot of that stuff has been imported from the States and brought here.
Oh, you guys have Hebrew Israelites over there
Oh,
too?
of course. You go see these Hebrew Israelites. They're yelling on the street, holding up these cardboard signs with like a nuclear cloud and all this nonsense, and they're yelling at people, calling people kind of bitches and all this. I've seen,
Huh.
and it's just like, and they look bummy, and it's like, I don't understand how you even find the time to do this. But yeah, we've got Hebrew Israelites, we've got the Nation of Islam, we've got yeah, we've got a lot of the US groups here as
So
well.
the hotepry is international.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Huh. This is interesting. So, and also because I have also seen Africans that even here online that they are suffering from identity crisis. I have a video that somebody sent to me. It came from shoot, what's her name? Is the Edo's girl. She's she has a picture of like a light skin of herself with some curly
Not
bangs.
Yvette Carnell.
Not
Not Yvette
Yvette.
Carnell.
No, this lady is here on YouTube. Hold on. When I pull the video up, hold on, let me see. They sent it to me. Anyways, when I pull it up, I'll see the name. But anyways, this lady, she has like this whole. She's apparently no, empowering adults. That's her name. Finally came to me. So because are you aware of the ADOS group?
Yeah, I've had encounters with people that claim that thing ADOS.
Do you know what it's all about?
Well, I've heard different things. The general understanding that I have is that they're a political movement that aspires to get reparations from the U.S. government, and I guess as well kind of bring together the African American collective in order to preserve their culture, promote their culture, and I guess form some kind of community. That's what I'm guessing that they're trying to do. But from my experience with people that profess ADOS, it's just been showers of abuse, and it's we're the biggest victims, and you Caribbean this and all this
Yes, they are.
abuse.
You're absolutely right. The whole tagline is they hate Africans, Caribbeans, so any other black group. So they say,
Yeah,
because if you notice, black people would say before, like to talk about slavery, to attach slavery to them is an insult. But now, when they think, when they are thinking that it's going to sell, now all of a sudden they're saying, no, 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 these other blacks cannot be a part of us. But you see, if you're born in America and you hyphenate yourself, that's pretty dumb. If you call yourself African American, you're an American, right? They didn't start doing that until 1983. You're already differentiating yourself. But the Edos, they contradict themselves. They are trying to say they want to cut their ties with Africa. Because some of them claim that they're from Turtle Island. Have you heard of Turtle Island?
listen, I used to because I've got another channel. I used to debate with these Aboriginal. I could just call them abos.
Yeah.
Those people that claim that they're indigenous, and then they tried to convince me that I'm indigenous. I used to debate with them, and then it just came to a point where I said I will vow to never talk to these people again because they're not right.
Yeah, but
They are not
I
right.
want to play a video here, right? I want to get your take on it, but I'll give my take. It's a video that somebody sent to me. They want me to analyze it, and it's fitting. It made the cut. It's from Empowering Edos. And the title says, Ghanaian, let's see, honest Ghanaian drags African immigrants with the truth. Now let's find out how truthful this Ghanaian is. So I'll play it and I'll give my commentary.
Serious identity crisis when you're here, thinking that you're from here, but you're not actually from here. Just because you were born in America doesn't mean you're American.
So this is a video from a lady named Empowering Ados, and she's happy. She said this is from a honest Ghanaian and believe that's African millennial. Oh, she's here. Welcome in the house, African millennial. You get to hear my take on this. So she said, just because you're born in America doesn't mean you're an American. Right off the bat, she's completely wrong. If you're born in America, regardless of color, you are an American. If you're naturalized, you become a naturalized citizen in America, you are an American. Because American law allows that. And I believe it's like that in the UK, right?
Yeah, but you see, I get what she's saying in that clip because you see, when I go back home, right, they call me English. In this country, they will never call me English. I'm not considered English. So I'm in between two things. I know what I identify as, but as far as this country, I just see it as a place I was dropped at. That's it. I was dropped here, and that's it. So I can understand that to a degree.
Okay, so that's why I said the identity crisis comes in. For instance, right, I live in America. I immigrated to America. I am an American citizen. So in America, they have laws that allows you to exploit that to become an American. It's like a corporation. So this corporation, when you become a member of it, you are allowed to operate in it freely. Because, see, when people are talking about citizenship with immigrants, if you're born in the West, you never know. You never even know that you need a work permit to work in the Western nations. So, so when people say they are American, now American doesn't have a color. They have Americans who are like Chinese. For a Gambian with a Gambian passport to come to America, they need a visa for them to come here. Right? To places where they need a visa, they cannot go to. But Americans have privilege to go to many places without visa. So if I show up, they're not going to say, oh no, you are just a naturalized American. The only office I cannot run for in America is the presidency. But I can be a governor, I can be a senator, I can be a congressman. So American law allows that. In fact, in America, we have people from the African continent who are congressmen and women here in America. So I think people are confused by what they see in the mirror. Because America allows you to take advantage of that. Because think about this, right? You've heard of the ghetto, right?
Yeah, I live in one.
But trust me, Africa is a bigger ghetto. Because even though you're in a ghetto, but you're in a Western ghetto where you have electricity, right? 24/7. You have transportation. You have, a lot of your basic amenities met systematically, right?
Right.
But now, you could choose, like, you can go get your British passport if you don't already have one. You can go wherever you want. Nobody in those countries would see you, would know that you're from that ghetto. You're the only one that would probably be thinking that. They would rather be in that ghetto. So most of Africa, majority of Africa, is the bigger ghetto. India and other places, those are all ghettos, South America. So for those people to come to these places is difficult. So this is why it's sort of like a lottery system. It's like the Game of Thrones, where the strong survive. So I understand that, okay, I was born in Africa, but I also realize that Africans do not have the wing to be able to just fly around with the passport. But there's a place where you can go to and change your luck. And that's exactly what I did. Why would anyone think what the US law is? It isn't. I get the point you're trying to bring. They are speaking of the identity, like what you look like, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Not necessarily. I would also say maybe certain values and things like that as well, certain outlooks. But I mean, when you see, it's a funny thing because you have British and English here, right?
Right.
I'm British national. My nationality is British. But in terms of English, English is more so an ethnicity that refers to the native white Brit population. And I
Right.
think people kind of mix those two things up.
Right.
But when I go back home, they say, "Oh, you're English," and it's like, I'm not English. And they're like, "No, you're
No,
English." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no."
I get it. For example, right? If I say, like when I say I'm American, for example, when you hear that, what do you drive? What do you get from me saying that statement?
Well, if you say to me that you're American, I would just assume that you have American citizenship.
Right. Right. So, but see, some people in these conversations, what I'm getting is they're thinking people are saying they are white people. America is comprised of different people. So when it's like it's a corporation at different times, in different times of history, they allow certain groups to come in depending on what they need within that time. And that's what they're doing throughout history. You look at it right now, they opened up the border. They deceive black people, like the Black Congress, to help them, allow the illegals to come in, when the plan is for those illegals to replace black people. But let's hear this, African millennials' honest truth here.
I've heard some really ignorant, I'm sorry if this offends some Africans because they probably will, but I've heard some ignorant Africans come on here and be like, oh, well, I'm American now. I have my green card, so I'm American. And I'm just like, do you know the image I think about when I think about America? I don't think about you.
You see that? So she is totally being subjective, like how most black people would do when they're talking about this. Just because she doesn't have that image, that is just her own fantasy. But if the person is a US citizen, they have access to all those privileges. So it doesn't matter what she thinks. Do you agree with that?
I get where she's coming from, but I do agree. You see, and this is the thing. I think there's probably more of a context to it where she's referring to, like you said, the kind of identity of an American rather than just the practical. I'm actually an American by citizenship. I have a passport that states that I am an American citizen, and I think that it's kind of like these are two different types of American, right? It's like how you have you've got Indian people here that have the thickest accent, but they say they're British. They were born in India, but they hold the passport and they have the certificate. Or even, I say my grandma, she still has an accent. You can see she's obviously not from here.
Right.
But she can say that she's British because she migrated here way back then, has a naturalization certificate, passports, and, to show it. She paid the taxes and did all of that. Right.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, when the person says they are an American, right? So right. the imagery part that she is talking about, that's not really
would be a patriot. I think she's thinking of like a patriotic American.
But that's not what America is about, because in their laws, in the American Constitution, the American Constitution agrees and allows you to come in and become an American. The only thing you cannot become is a president, mind you. You can be a governor, like Arnold Schwarzenegger is a naturalized American. He's a naturalized American, and he was the governor of California. Ilhan Omar, she is from Somalia, and she's a U.S. Congresswoman from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So if someone says she's not an American, those individuals would be fooling themselves, because there is different kinds of Americans. Not all Americans are white Americans. There are different kinds of Americans. I'm talking because, if we're going by to try to say the native of America, hey, if you're born in a country, you are a native of that country, plain and simple. It goes by what the laws of that country allow. Most African countries, for instance, they do not have laws like that, where you come in and you're born there, you become a citizen. Many places don't have that in the Middle East. So that's why places cannot progress like America and places like Britain, because white people are more tolerant than other people, darker people around the world. Because if you don't have different skills brought together, you cannot have the talent pool to make the place great.
I
So
would agree. I mean, tolerant. Yeah, they are tolerant. It's not a thing of tolerant coming from a good place, though. I would say, at least for the UK, I don't know if you've heard about the Windrush scandal. They were happy to invite, Caribbean migrants over to this country to rebuild after a war that we've had nothing to do with, but just simply that we're, British Empire subjects. They bring my grandparents here under the guise of rebuild the mother country, only then to say, right, we're gonna burn all your landing cards. Get out. You have no proof that you were ever here legally. Get out.
yeah, I've read about that. Yeah, but I'm talking about in terms of legality versus just feelings, because a lot of Africans are lost in their head about. For instance, I know like I have the legal passport to say I'm an American, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden that erases me being a Gambian. In fact,
No, it doesn't mean that you embody like a patriot. It doesn't mean that you
yes.
holding that passport means that it completely erases your identity. You do have people though, and I'm aware of people that do come, like let's say, to come to this country, and they will do that. They will erase their culture completely and like dive into Western culture, and they just want to have nothing to do with their culture. That does exist, but you just sheerly, saying that you're an American via your passport and all the money that you had to pay into, because essentially you do pay for it,
Right.
that doesn't take away your actual identity, your original identity of who you are. It doesn't do that. It doesn't discount it.
Right. That's the whole point, because people confuse those two. Let's hear it. And like African millennials say, Haitians born in America deported. That's factually a lie. You cannot deport someone born in America. There are Mexicans or Guatemalans that cross into America and they're born here. They've had people they deport their parents and kept the babies here. You cannot deport a natural born American citizen. So I don't know if you see that, bring me that proof.
I don't think about you from Senegal when I think of America. So you're there talking about you're American, you're American. You're from Senegal.
So obviously the African millennial she's the one that is confused. Someone saying they're American. Yeah, that doesn't mean they're saying they are not. They are no longer Senegalese. That's you having that thought process. The people know who they are.
Your last name is a Senegalese name, but you're here talking about, oh yeah, I'm American. Why? Because you got your green card, so now you're all of a sudden American?
Yeah,
This is weird.
this is not weird.
This is very strange. And some
This is not strange at all.
of you people now have children that act like this. It's disgusting. So I find it funny how a lot of Africans in the UK especially will be like, oh yeah, I'm British. And they'll like hold on to that identity when it's like,
But you see, African millennial, if these people go back to their various countries, just like you here, ACDT, they call you British, right?
My family call me English. Yeah.
English. Yeah. So, I mean, like they are not saying like your nature. They are talking about culture, because culturally when you were growing up, you were assimilated in a British culture, right?
To a degree, I was raised relatively traditional, like under my grandma a lot. So I have a lot of differing views and opinions, and sort of my outlook is a bit different from other people.
Yeah, but
So
you
I
were you
mean,
were
yeah, I
born
was
in
raised.
Britain.
I was born in Britain, raised in Britain, in a more traditional sense. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I've been kind of raised as a British child, if that makes sense.
Like, oh, you mean like a white traditional British?
Not white tradition. Like, how can I say? they how can I say this? It's like I guess you could say like white. You see children now more and more kind of away from their culture, from their original culture. Like you have a lot of Caribbean kids now, 2, 3 generations in, even my generation, and it's kind of like I look at them sometimes. I'm like, where's your family from? And this is how you act. This is how you behave. Where's your culture? Where's your elders? Where's your grandparents? Like you seem really disconnected.
Right, right. I mean, I get that part where there are people, because after few generations, as we know, like here in America especially, there is a culture called the American culture, which is mostly white culture. It is the dominant culture here in America. But for instance, like I'm here, I know about that culture, and there are Africans also who know about that culture. So you can live in that society in harmony, with the understanding everybody understands. We're all, tax-paying citizens. We live in peace just as we're doing. They know your origin is from someplace else, but now this is what you are. Because America gives you the chance to it's a redo. So people have different perspectives of what America is. So that's the point I'm standing on. I'm standing on the American Constitution versus feelings, because the American Constitution is what governs the land, and any African that went through the process and ever received a green card, I can guarantee you they know about that concept. Just because they got their passport, they not all of a sudden start talking about, hello, my name is Billy. Oh, in fact, you know, they're not, I mean,
No, I understand exactly what you're saying because it's the same with my grandmother. She came to this country. She became a naturalized citizen, had her passport, but she still has an accent. She still did her things traditionally. She don't as she says she don't understand the white people, how they do this, how they do that. It's different. I wasn't raised. I was brought home like back to our original country at an early age and that type of thing.
right.
So it's like I get it. She didn't come here and then just become full on English woman like but some people do. Some people do.
Yeah, some people, like I have met, I mean, especially this is Muslim Nigerians, they would change their names. Like some people change their name, and I understand. Like I met a guy, his name is, he calls himself Olu, and you would understand why he did it like that. Because his full name is a mouthful, you cannot say it. It's like a song. It's Olumide Olundare Egule. You see? Imagine you meet the guy. You're like, what's your name? Hey, my name is Olumide Olundare Egule. You're going to be like, you're shitting me, right? That's a joke. But no, that's really his name. You see? And I've seen this with Chinese people also, who would give themselves like Western names. So, but people, how can people call it? Like you see the Chinese, you cannot look at them and say they're confused about their identity. Would you say that? Most Chinese.
I wouldn't say so. I can't lie though. I don't really interact with Chinese people, but I guess not. They seem to be more in tune with their culture and who they are.
Right. Let me play this.
Your parents came from the Congo. You're not British. The identity crisis that I think a lot of Africans abroad face this identity crisis. And it's really disappointing because I've noticed that, especially with the younger generation, the elder.
To me, okay, so you're saying United States and places like that, they have this great constitution saying if you're born there as a natural citizen, you're a natural citizen of that country. you should be able to take advantage of it and be, tall and proud about it. But you're saying, no, this person should act like a brand new immigrant every single time. That doesn't make sense, because that's trying to push that victimhood. If you're born somewhere, you're raised there, you are a citizen of that place. Plain and simple.
Generation do this too, but the younger generation, who are actually adults now, by the way, they also hold on to this identity crisis. When I think of an English person, the image that comes to my mind is not an African.
But you see, that's just your image of it. In England, they have black British in the parliaments, right? I know, I've seen videos. They have black
I mean,
representatives.
that's not an achievement. It's really not an achievement,
but I'm just saying, by the legal standard, because I'm going by the legal standard. But now, when you look at that, when it comes to your identity, that understanding should be coming from you, not what somebody else feels like or what their image of a British person is. You see? Because
but you see, you're saying British. You're saying British, and she's saying English. And this is the thing. People have to be really specific on this type of thing. When you're talking about British, then you talk about nationality. When it comes to English, you're talking about an ethnic group. And that's actually created an issue with a black politician in this country who now calls himself, or who's trying to push that he's an Englishman, which is problematic.
hold on, wait. Okay. Are you saying that you guys have people who, like, they're saying they're the actual, like, a British man? Is that what you're saying? Rather just a British citizen?
This guy he literally said, I have, was it 6% Scottish blood in me. Why can't I call myself an Englishman?
It's a good
Which
question.
is, I mean, it's mind blowing. I've got part
But it's a
Chinese
good
ancestry.
question.
I can't call myself a Chinese woman. I can't do that. That would be ridiculous.
No, but if he has Scottish blood, right? For instance, if you look at it like, I'm 100% African. I mean, so I would see people who are mixed, for instance. They only claim their black side because they've made it a one-way street. Like, blackness is a one-way street. So their white side is not even acknowledged. But that's not reality, because in Africa, they call mixed people mulattoes when I was there. But in America, people take offense to that. So do you take your mixed Chinese ancestry into account?
I'm aware of it. I don't call myself a Chinese woman.
No.
It's not. I don't find it a relevant thing. Culturally, I'm definitely not Chinese.
Right.
It's not. Doesn't mean it's really and truly. If I have to be, it doesn't really mean anything to me. It's just my dad's mom was a Chinese woman.
Right. No, I get that. But I've seen people here in America, right? For instance, Colin Kaepernick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick, the failed quarterback. So Colin Kaepernick, I mean, I don't even know if he's really black, because they said his father was black, but we've never seen the father's picture. The mother was black, but he was also raised by white people. No, his mother was white, and he was raised by white people also. So he's 100% white, but now he's speaking for black people. So that also creates, confusion, because he's already confused. We can't even confirm if his mixture, the father is even, black. The father could be Samoan. Because here in America, they call some people black. That's a big confusion. They don't look black to me, but they call them black. Where I come from, they will not call those people black. So that's another thing that blows my mind, where it's funny how now everyone wants to lecture to Africans about race and our history. You've touched on that the other day. Before I play this video one more time, what ticked you off to make you go off the other day?
It's the part when an African person tells you that they've been mocked or faced discrimination or bullying from people in the diaspora, and then for you to deny it and say that that doesn't happen, only then to throw slavery into the mix to make yourself to be a bigger victim. I'm not having that, because it exists. We know. Don't lie, because now you're being dishonest. You know for a fact that this happens, right? And I could be one to deny that it ever happened because I've never partook in it and I never witnessed that growing up, right? But if this has been kind of a discovery thing for me, right? Because I kind of used to hear that this thing existed at some point, but by the time I was born, I guess it would have died down by the time I was in school. It wasn't a thing for me. Never ever, heard anything like that. Never thought like, oh, let me bully this African child. We all got along. But I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, when you was in school, was this a thing? And she says, oh yeah, 70s and 80s, it was a thing. African kids were getting bullied. They were getting picked on. And I said, did it ever get, violent? Was it like that bad? She said, not that she ever saw, but African kids would get picked on. And then African parents would tell their children to stay away from Caribbean children. That's what she told me. So don't tell me. And it's the same thing in the States as well, because the person that ticked me off was from the States. This happens in the US as well. And I've heard that Caribbean children, especially Haitian children, were picked on. So don't deny it and then throw slavery in to make you a big victim. That's why I had to say you need to get over slavery, meaning stop using that as a reason for everything. Get over it. You can't deny people of what they've experienced, because you're just being a liar and a victim. And I don't like that.
And another crazy thing, like you called that out, there are Africans also who do that, where they don't live in America, but they would argue against like an American person who, I'm not saying an African that moved to America, I'm talking an actual American. They would argue with an actual American to make excuses for the blacks, which is so weird to me, because it also is going both ways. That's why I said there's the identity crisis. Just listen to the individual, because today, even earlier, I saw you in the Negropeans chat. I was there too a little bit. He was talking about the Himba, and he was trying to demonize Wode Maya. Did you see the same thing?
I came in late and I was trying to understand what exactly the problem was, and I didn't quite get it. Like, I think he said it was how he presented
But
the title or something like this, and that he found that to be a problem.
no,
But
I think what he displayed there is just like many, their mindset is of Eurocentric mindset, but they refuse to accept it. Because the Himbers, this is their culture. Wode Maya is not putting on a movie. This is what these people's actual culture is. So you don't have to like it because you're not part of that culture. So if you sit there and start thinking it's not a normal culture, you're giving it your own connotation and trying to make it seem like it's other people. That's not true, you see. And also, he was sneak dissing Wode Maya. This is not the first time. He called him
he said
a pot belly
right.
African.
Right, yeah, that got under my skin, because I'm like, hold on, you're calling him a dark skin, pot bellied Africa. It's like, nah, you can't say that. You first of all, you're painting a caricature, and then what was that for? You're trying to undermine him. Like, he's, oh, look at this dark skinned pot bellied African. Like, what does he know? He's only popular because of such and that got under my skin. And
Look,
after that, I was just
look,
like, I can't deal with this no more. He's
look.
been doing that though. He's been doing that these past few days. Same thing with Rene Marcus,
Yes, I've seen it.
throwing people under the bus and low blowing people for no reason.
And my thing is, right? He's speaking of the Himba, talking about, oh, if the Muzungu white people know about it. So are you telling me that the Germans colonized, Namibia? White people live there. So you telling me the white people didn't know anything about the Himba until Wadimaya put it up. In fact, I have seen many videos on YouTube. I've watched documentaries about the Himba. Let me tell you, those Himbas, they have very horny women. They've shown it in every video. They've shown it in every video. There is even tribe, I will tell you. If you travel in Gambia into the Casamas, there are areas, there are tribes who, if you get there, at night, so you're a single man, they would give you the woman who would help warm your bed for you. That's their culture, you see? So now, if you as a person, you have a problem with that, say so. But you cannot just come and make it seem like Wodemaya's entire video is about, intimacy. Like, in fact, that video I didn't see anything wrong with it. Is the Himba people even talking about it? But I have seen other videos. You could go search this on YouTube. Like, you would find out, man, like, yeah, this Himba woman there about that action. The Himba woman was talking about, they were translating it. The guy was white too. The Himba lady was ready for action. But the thing is, they speak of these people as if these are some helpless people, as if they are not in part of a country. They are in Namibia. You're speaking
Right.
like, as if like, oh, people are just going to see this, hop on the plane, and just stroll and say, oh, I am looking for some Himba chicks, and just wander off into their territory. So like, people didn't know about the Himbas until Wadimaya did this video. Is that what, the unapologetic Negropean is trying to tell us?
You know what? I don't really understand what the stream was about. Like I said, I didn't come in from the start. I think sometimes he does streams and it's just like, well, what are you here talking about? I don't really think you have anything to say on this. And then it then turned into the African sexploitation segment, and I was just like, I can't deal with this. He
It's
wasn't really
crazy.
talking about much.
I know. Let's play some of this more.
The image that comes to my mind is a Caucasian. So this
No, but African millennial, that's where you're wrong. Unless you mean something different, but there's different kinds of Americans. I don't know exactly what the conversation was with the people you're talking about, but I would set up an interview with you so you can explain it.
identity that a lot of Africans in the West have, like this, oh, I'm from here, but you just got your papers 5 years ago. Are you really from there? Or are you just living there? Are you just experiencing that country, or are you actually from that country? And I think it gets very confusing when you have certain Africans that are born outside of Africa, especially, because then they'll hold on to the identity of the place where they were born over the
But you see, if you look at it, this citizenship thing, right? Even in Gambia, the African tradition, even amongst the people, if you travel from, for example, village to go settle in another village, though the chiefs there, they have to approve your stay there and give you the land. Did you know this, African Caribbean?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yes, yeah. It's not like you just stroll and come and say, oh yeah, guess what? I am also black. I'm here to put up my tent. Didn't you hear the story about the Himba? You know where the land where the Himbas are? The Himbas, they migrated from Angola to that land. So they had the Bushmen there, the Khoisan. They conquered the Bushmen to keep that territory. So okay, so it's okay. So now we know human conquering is natural, right? But we're all ignoring that fact. You know, for instance, the Himbas are who they are. If you want to go change their culture, you're going to have problems with them. Obviously, you know, the Europeans, they've been living there for over 100 years plus, 200 years plus. That did not influence the Himba to change their culture. They are very well self-sufficient. They are not people that need our help. But we, like the Negropean acting like people hate Wadimaya for putting that up. Oh, now all of a sudden that people are gonna find out the Himba, this Himba women are freaks. You know, they are
Yeah,
horny,
yeah.
they are ready to go. Like, come on now, really? You think some dude is going to fly? Like, I don't know how freaky you are, but fly all the way from the Western world to Namibia just to go get action with some Himba chicks? Like, come on now.
No, you'd be surprised. No, 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 no. That happened. I mean, look, you've got people from the UK that will fly to the Philippines and Thailand and Cambodia just to find a 12-year-old girl to do something with. So it's not to say that this wouldn't happen, but if you're gonna put it like no one knew about this of the Himba, before Wadamai's video, that's dishonest. That's not true.
Yeah,
People
but
were aware
but
of it, and I think I saw people in the chat also saying that documentaries have been already made about this. So what he's done is not new.
yeah, someone said Bushman is considered derogatory term. You'd get arrested in Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa for saying that. Hey, thanks for letting us know. You see, this is what the platform is about, educational. I didn't know that. Thanks for letting us know that. But you see, like, the whole point is he's expressing he feels superior to the Himba people. You know? That video showed way, like, the sex part of it. The sex part of it was just a tiny part. And Wadimaya that's not what his video was all about. Even what he read, he didn't express it as his own word. He made sure he asked the question to the guy. He didn't assume or just go with what he read. He asked the guy the question and the guy answered it. And when they say they showed the baby, you can marry the baby. But that doesn't mean you can sleep with the baby. You have to wait till the baby is grown up and then you come and convince that when that person is a woman. So I think it was dishonest to paint it the way he did.
Right. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Identity of the place where they actually have their lineage from. How can you know someone else's language, but the language of your forefathers, you don't know that language?
All right. She's got a point there. But now, you cannot blame those children. I mean, yeah, it's cool to know the language of their forefathers, but how is that even benefiting them, to be honest? You're not using that. It's just for conversation with the people you know. But if you live in America and you interact with other people, truly, I see no benefit to it.
But what about if you travel? If you were to go back home? Like that, you see, we have this issue
if
here.
That's true. You can go back, yeah. For that, yes. But if you're not gonna do that,
I mean, culturally as well. You see, language is like a bookcase with your
Right.
culture in it. And I would say, at least in this country, for the Afro Caribbean population, our languages that we do have languages. Say what you want is broken English, is broken French, whatever. It's still a language. It's distinguishable from French, English, and so on and so forth, right?
But you see,
We
right?
will give.
But you see right now, right, how we're communicating in English, understanding one another. If you think about even 30 years back, even the black people, for instance, that pick on African kids or Africans, it is a language barrier.
Mhm.
That's what it is. It is a language barrier. But as people start understanding each other more and more, we start moving past those petty, silly things. Because if someone says to me, "You're African Buddhist scratcher," it would make me laugh. In fact, it did make me laugh. Like, I would ask them the question. But truly, I haven't had people come to me and say, "You're African Buddhist scratcher." But you remember when there was Ebola, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a black person tell me, "Oh, they gotta stay away from me because Ebola is from Africa." I'm like, are you dumb? Like, even if it's from Africa, I've been living here with you. You've known me since last year, and Ebola just came, and you didn't see me go to Africa. But that's how stupid people get. But you have to correct them. You can't just let it pass.
Of course.
I'm so sorry. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you were born in the US, you know perfect English, you can speak it 100%. But if your grandmother were to speak to you in her mother tongue, you wouldn't be able to speak to her back. That's a disgrace. And people are bragging about this. You literally.
No, that's not a disgrace. It's called globalism. Because if we're talking about the black unity, okay, if all of us speak our various languages, for instance, African Caribbean, if I only spoke my language, which is Soninke, or in some people call it Sarahule, if I only spoke that, you and I wouldn't be able to communicate. Did you know that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But now, even though they say, "Oh, let's talk about global black unity," but now, how are we going to do that unity? We have to communicate in a language where we understand each other.
But
And
that's not real. Afridamus, global black unity, that's not real. It doesn't
wait, wait, wait,
exist. It's not
wait, wait,
going
wait,
to exist.
wait. Okay. Are you telling me with all the hoteps we have out there promoting global black unity, the Back to Africa movement, are you telling me this is not real?
If that's real, pigs with wings are real.
You mean
It's never gonna be. Listen,
you meaner than I thought.
hoteps. This is what gets me right, because it's not just not hoteps as in the pyramid worshiper hoteps, but the kind of the band of misfits and costume wearers, those sorts of people. You've got them fighting amongst themselves, and that's why I became disillusioned with this thing in the first place, because it's like everyone sings from the same hymn sheet, or we all want to get along, and us as black people, and blah blah blah, and it's like Nation of Islam versus Hebrew Israelites versus Hoteps. Okay, and you guys like the biggest proponents. You swear up and down. You have prophecies of black people coming together, and you can't even look past ideological differences.
But
It's not realistic because we're not all the same.
right. But also, these people that are talking about these movements, they like the idea of quote unquote African so call yourself African, they like Africa without the African. Because if you think about it, just the example of these Himbers, this is who they are. This is what their culture is. So if you're saying you're offended by that, that's a problem. So I see this quite a bit where people, their idea of what quote unquote African culture is, which doesn't exist by the way. There is different cultures, different tribes, and a lot of these cultures are repressive. There's a reason why Africa is in the ruins that it is. Did you see the last video I did about the voodoo doctors sacrificing humans, dogs, babies? You've seen it, right?
No.
You didn't see it?
No.
Oh, you have to go back and watch that. But yeah, but that's neither here or there. That's a different aspect. But different people are into different things. That's what Africa is about. There's not like this one thing that everyone does, like everyone is into. Obviously, you see the Himbers. They got their own community going. They are self-reliant. They are not begging anyone. They don't need cell phones. They cook their meat. They don't even need seasoning. How are you going to convince these people? They got their own everything. They are set. But if you have the Western way of thinking, this liberal way of thinking, you're truly what they call a white supremacist. You don't have to have the white skin color. Because there's something. Why are you trying to put into people's mind that they should be offended by these Himba people? White people used to say some tribes in Africa walk around naked, right? Have you heard that?
Yeah, naked, savage, in trees and all that stuff.
But people get offended, but that's true, right? Because obviously the Himbas, even present day, it is true. We're seeing it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you see, Afridamus, I have to agree, and it's a very tricky thing to say, right? Because when they say that, they're not saying that in the vein, when that's brought up and thrown at people, it's not used in the vein of just stating the facts. It's usually to say it in a derogatory manner. That's usually how it is. However, factually, yes, but when things like this are brought up, is Africans are just in trees and they're naked and they're savages and oops, sorry, not my mic. This it's not usually brought up in a factual or positive context.
but that tells me, right? Because people are dealing with the identity crisis. Because if you look at it, Namibia is a sovereign nation. The white people have been there. They colonized Namibia. That did not change who the Himba people are. The Namibian people, not everyone is a Himber. They are aware of the Himbers. They know how they are dressed. They don't look down on them. They are not offended by them. So why would people in the West say, pretending to be offended by seeing them displaying their culture, all in the name of blackness? If you are a different type of black, you are fully clothed, you do not share your extra wife with strangers, hey, that's what you guys do, good for you. But the Himbers, this is what they do. This is what they do. So who are we to try to infringe our own ideas, of how they should live their life? Wode Maya did not present the Himbas in a bad light. He showed their culture. And the entire thing wasn't based in intimacy. He made it about that. He tried to base it on that. just to get people riled up. But it wasn't even true.
You lost your culture in 1 or 2 generations and you're bragging about that? Wow, that's weird. That
Culture is man made. You can create your own culture. The culture that worked for your parents in their village is not going to work in an American society. Like, if it's so important for the parents, they would have stayed in that village. For instance, the Himbas, they enjoy being Himbas and they stay in Himba land. They don't mix with other people. People don't get it. This mixture thing, even people from different culture, there is a lot of African culture. For instance, like my culture, right? Majority of the ideology, they do not mix with other culture. So,
Okay.
so I'm assuming the Himbas are the same way because that way they preserve the culture. But that culture would only be in a certain area. But if you're talking about a global thing, a global black, you have to respect all those other black people as well, right?
In theory,
Yeah.
but again, when you look at this global black unity and the pan-africanism, and I like to use the example of the UNIA constitution where Marcus Garvey states that they're going to quote unquote civilize the backwards tribes of Africa. To me, that's imperialist.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you said that. That's my exact point I'm coming to. Because what I've seen with the unapologetic Negropean, he is speaking as a colonizer, as a white supremacist. I don't use the word white supremacist, but today a lot of people that come as blacks, if you allow them to speak for long, let them speak about Africa, you would see that they have the colonialist mindset. They think Africans are inferior, uncivilized. They have the intelligence to just come and conquer Africans. This is the talking points. You've heard At Kati. You've seen the video
Yep.
of the Afrikaans.
Yep.
You've
Yep. I mean,
seen
look at the Karen of Kasakunda herself, who's now trying to change a constitutional statute to say, hey, you need to give us citizenship. It's outrageous. It's
great,
really outrageous.
great example. The Queen of Kasakunda, that is a perfect example. Coming in and trying to tell the people how they should be doing things. But these countries have constitution. This is why I always point out constitution. You see, the African Caribbean, there's nothing wrong with you being in the UK, understanding the Western culture, me living in America, understanding the Western culture, and many, many other people that are watching today. For us all to be able to speak in a common language, understand one another, and form a better culture, which is not based on this toxicity. Because a culture can only be formed when people speak a universal language. So, with there, I agree with you. There's not going to be that unity because you have the hoteps who they have their own rules. You have the Black Power people with their own rules, the Eros people with their own rules. But, usually with Americans, because with Americans, it's American privilege. If things don't go the way they are used to in America, that's a problem. You've seen Americans cry about not having their favorite snacks on videos. Did you see this? You're laughing.
I don't get how do you go to another. I mean, it's not to say that Ghana doesn't have snacks because they do, but it's like, listen, because the snack isn't deep fried with chemicals that you can't read on the back of a pack, don't mean they don't have
But hold
snacks.
on. But you've heard the videos also I played. You've heard Adkati talk about missing the American foods, didn't you?
Yeah, she wants what would she say? The fried
Mexican.
chicken was basic.
Yeah.
She wants burritos and Mexican food, and she misses soul food and all this. And my thing is this, listen, if you're gonna go to somewhere, you know the food's not gonna be there. You know that. You can't tell me that you didn't know it was gonna be there. Then pack your bags and just leave. That's it. If you
That's
don't like it, then go.
well, that's the thing. That's the confusion because they want Africa without the real Africa. Because their idea of Africa, I think, is truly the movie Wakanda, where it's like, because in America, you can easily create your own little fantasy. You know, you can create your own little fantasy. But now, when you step out of that fantasy, you go to Africa. Africa have a way of hitting you with facts that you cannot deny. So this is what many are facing. But I heard that that woman, in fact, dumped her black American husband and she's now with a long stroke Kwame.
No, that's to me, this is a problem. This is a serious issue, actually, if you think about it. Like when you take someone else's identity and you try to like attach it to you, that's where I kind of think you're a little bit delusional. Let me give you guys an example. If someone from Poland, right, someone who's Polish, right, goes to Ghana and they get a citizenship, are they then all of a sudden Ghanaian?
Yes, if they can get the Ghanaian passport, because that would contradict her own stance. If a person born and raised in America, doesn't matter their race, if they go to Ghana and get the Ghanaian passport, they're a Ghanaian citizen. This is why African Caribbean, your favorite person, the Queen of Casa Kunda, wants the constitution changed. Because, meaning they can get citizenship and run for office.
Oh, really? So a foreigner can run for. Wait, when you say run for office, you mean for presidential office as
No,
well?
no, 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 no.
Oh, okay. Oh my
No,
god.
no. See, no, no. The Gambian, see, what people don't realize is America, Britain, and these places is about marketing. It's about marketing. So this is why their laws, they can accommodate as many people as they can. So in African countries, they cannot afford to do that. They cannot afford to just say, oh, come on in. Even if they say, come on in. I mean, what African country you know that's building a wall, keeping people out? Like, it's so awesome, people cannot wait to get there. If anyone can think of one, please make sure you drop it in the link. But I can't think of any. But over here in America, we're trying to kick this, aliens coming in through. The Great White Hope built a wall to stop them. Now Sleepy Joe is trying to stop that wall going up. But that's a whole different topic. So it's a corporation. But now when you want to talk about the cultural aspect, now that's a whole different ball game. And again, I stick by that. Culture is man-made. The culture that somebody, my great-great-grandfather, that he worked for in the village. Like, I don't live in that village. I don't live that village life. So if I think that's what I'm going to apply in the society I'm in, I would be fooling myself. Like, I'm not my great-great-grandfather. And people that like to say, oh, we want to go back to the African culture. oh, which one? How did it work out? Yeah, the culture
They want to
was,
go back to roots. That's what
yeah,
it
roots.
is.
Yeah, the culture was,
They
yeah, the roots was so strong that anyone that wants to colonize or take over takes over the place. Okay? So to me, that doesn't make sense. So let's, people just need to use their objective minds, take advantage of what is happening. See, a lot of black people want to hate the white American government. In fact, they should thank the white American government because the white American government goes around even to Africa and exploit Africa with trade deals that favor the white man, Venezuela and other places. In fact, myself, I'm benefiting from it because, in America, you live a good life. The black people are living a good life. The white American culture, white government, they get their hands dirty so that the American people can live the lives they are living. So that black people are not exempt to that. So if black people are saying, oh, don't exploit Africa, don't exploit these places, you're benefiting from that exploitation. All of us are. All of us are. All that mining, all the resources, yeah, we're benefiting from it. But now, like the unapologetic Negropean said, oh, they can leave. The white people and these other people can leave Africa, leave the resources there, taken from the Africans. I don't like those arguments. Again, that's the superior thinking. You think the Africans are so dumb, people just take from them. No, they make deals. Again, hey, you might disagree with those deals. Maybe they have people in place who are making these deals. That's where their thinking is. But let's not also forget, yeah, the white people leave. He's speaking as if they have these geniuses in Africa. All of a sudden, they're going to be mining. If white people don't mine those stuffs, they hold no value. What is the Africans going to do with it? If the Africans got what it takes to build that, all those things, they would have done it. So let's just stop deluding ourselves and just accept the truth and allow, reality to prevail. Plain and simple. But when you say, oh, they are taken from the Africans, as if the Africans are just standing by, you should be talking to the Africans that are signing these deals because they are deals that are
I
signed.
agree. I agree with that. And you see, it's a tricky thing, right? Because it's the same thing with the Caribbean, and this is my issue when it comes to my country in particular. We're not just like, oh, these people just coming in and taking it. No, 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 no. They're not looting. These policy makers, these politicians, the presidents, the prime ministers, they're allowing this to go on. But my problem is with at least my country people is they're too weak, spineless, and passive. And it's like we can complain because they do complain that all of this is going on, and it's all well and good you complaining, but if you're not going to do anything to prevent it, to put a stop to it, and you enact what you want to see in your country, then I mean, what are you complaining for? You're allowing it to
Exactly.
happen.
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is, for example, in Gambia, they have the Chinese there. They do the commercial fishing and, they pollute the environment because, as you know, the Chinese, that's one thing everyone badmouths them about, which is wherever they go, they don't respect the environment there. And rightfully so, the Gambian people around the sea coast there, they have a legit gripe against that. Because when I used to live in Gambia, like most of our food source is from the sea, seafood. Every day there's fresh fish of all kinds, of all different fish, crabs, shrimps, you name it, coming to the market. But now they want to industrialize this, where the Chinese come in, they catch the Gambian fish to go feed, their animals, their hogs over there in China. But people have to ask the question, what is the Gambian government doing? They're not doing much, obviously. They invited the Chinese. But I don't want to sit here and blame the Chinese every day because the Chinese didn't bring themselves there. You see? So they should go to their local authorities and have that discussion with them. But now you have people in the diaspora hating on the Chinese when, if they truly are about Africa, like people say, all these people talking about, we want to help Africans. Do you know the Chinese, they bring trawlers? Why don't people work with serious Gambians and bring trawlers over there and fish? But you see, that's not gonna be acceptable because right now, right? I know a Gambian person. I heard him in the media. He brought his own fish trawler to the Gambia to fish. Do you know the government started hitting him with all types of license. Oh, your trawler didn't fit the criteria of being a fishing trawler. All types of things. So when I hear dumbasses come up here talking about, oh, Afridamus, oh, why aren't you in Gambia doing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, why aren't you doing this? That's why. Because you guys think things is based in, oh, we all black. Oh, yeah. But now, the Gambian person, born and raised in Gambia, brings his own fishing trawler. Because people say, oh, the Africans, the Gambians in the diaspora, they don't do anything for their country. Fine, somebody brought a trawler. Okay? They want to do their fishing. The government want them to modify the trawler to say it doesn't fit the stipulation because this guy, they say he was going to catch too many fish. What do you mean he's going to be catching too many fish? So the Chinese are given advantage. Who is giving the Chinese advantage? So before people run around talking about calling people coons, calling people all types of names without them even understanding the politics of things. Because if they allow me to operate my own trawler, they cannot get in my pocket like that. Because I'm Gambian like them. So the Chinese, they pay fees. Look, in Gambian social media, there's videos circulating of a Gambian, Ministry of Fisheries. Hidden video. Like this guy is having a nice Chinese buffet dinner with the Chinese people. And having this nice dinner is not the problem. But it is the money that the Chinese were giving this man and talking about it. So all these people talking about, oh yeah, we're going to go back to Africa and rebuild Africa. All right, go ahead. I'm just telling you exactly how the Chinese operate. Look, wherever you go, money works, bullshit works. But in Africa, it's truly, truly, money works, bullshit works. It's always been like that, and it would always be that way. 500 years ago, prior to that, too, the hustle was selling human beings. The market was open there. They were ready to sell. Hey, now it's minerals. And still the human trafficking is going on. Still the Arabs are getting Africans, as their slaves over there in the Middle East. Because back in the days, you have to transport the Africans through the Sahara. By the way, I have some beachfront properties in the Sahara. You know about that African diaspora, right?
Well, I paid you a deposit and I haven't had any paperwork here since.
Wait. I told you cannot be revealing my secrets like this.
I've already reported you to unapologetic European. because you scam me. So there's gonna be an expose on you in about a week.
Amazing. But fine, people just ignore her. The beachfront properties, I would be advertising them in a month or so. Just kick back. But anyways, you have the trans-Saharan trade. They were selling humans there. And even today that's going on. Did you guys know, as I speak right now, there is a popular IG page. I don't know if they took it down now. But this is especially to sell Africans on there. They bring them in, they take their passports, they take them as slaves. Yeah, back in those days, they gotta pay the money to transport them. But now, you gotta transport yourself to them. And people are doing it willingly. So these are the things people should be talking about. Let's hear more of African Millennial. I almost forgot.
They have a Ghanaian citizenship. So now all of a sudden they're Ghanaian. So now anything happens, they could claim ties to Ghana, but they're from Poland. Their lineage is from Poland. Their ancestors come from that.
African Millennial, you have to understand. People become citizens in places for what benefits that place provide, the opportunities. No one, like, you think I would have just be like, oh man, I'm gonna travel from Gambia, go stay in America, you know, do my thing. People go to places for a reason. There's a reason why they go there. Opportunities and, you know, better yourself. You've seen the Nigerian beggar. In fact, I didn't ask you about that. What did you think about the Prince of Pan-Africanism, modern day prophet, telling people to give him their grits money?
I have a very, very deep-seated dislike for Umar Johnson because he came here in 2013. He came here to the Tabernacle in West London, and he went to one community center, like literally around the back of where I live. Did a 2-day event, right? Fundraising for his school. They're passing buckets around this, but back then he was only taking
Are
cash.
you
He was
serious?
only taking.
Did you go?
I'm being serious. Yeah, I went to both of them. Of them.
Oh wow! So did you put money in that plate?
Well, I wasn't old enough to make money back then. My mom put money in because
Your mom put
she
money
thought it
in?
was.
What was she
Yeah, my mom
thinking?
put money in. She thought, okay, and back then he used to be more well spoken. So it was the well spoken and the information and stuff like that sounded really good. But I remember sitting there, and he said one thing that kind of made me think, I'm not sure about this. And he was talking about we're gonna teach kids to shoot guns and fly planes. And I was like, how old was I at that time? Was it 2013? I would have been, about 15.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, I don't think you can do that. I'm not sure if you can teach children how to shoot guns and fly planes at 15. That's not realistic.
Wait a minute. Wait. You mean Dr. Umar Johnson said he's going to teach kids how to shoot and fly planes?
Yeah, and I remember he said something like parents, when it's like the end of the school year, your kid is gonna fly you in a helicopter and land you on a helipad, all this kind of stuff that he was talking about. And it was, yeah, it was like, what? And then for me, I kind of got disillusioned with him because shortly after that, all he would talk about is speaking engagements and nothing was about this supposed school. And it's been like, what, 10 years now of him begging for money,
Well,
scamming
now
people.
there's a new video besides the grits money. Now people gotta pay for taxes. The school didn't start yet, but people gotta pay for taxes. Let's see. Slayer Gem wants a beachfront property. Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll put you on the list. On the beachfront property. make sure you contact Chief Realtor Audrey Kemi. She would get you situated.
Area, and all of a sudden they're in Ghana and they're saying, "Oh yeah," they forget their language and they.
No, look, just because you become an American citizen, how can you forget your language? You cannot just make yourself forget something. That's not how it works. Yeah, you can try to pretend, but that doesn't mean you will forget. Like, I speak my language very well. And other languages, I speak Mandinka Wolof, I speak Creole, which is Aku in Gambia, Soninke, which is Sarahule. I speak those languages too. I speak Wolof, and I mean, I still speak them just fine. Just because,
Can I be fair? Can I be fair to African Millennial?
yeah,
I don't think she literally means you're gonna have a lobotomy and you're not gonna be able to speak your language anymore. I think what she means is you put your language behind you, as in, because I've seen where some people are ashamed to speak their language, and that's
yes,
something in the Caribbean that's happened. Where
yes,
we've had
that,
languages now that are dying off because people are ashamed to speak it because of a stigma attached. And
yeah,
I think maybe that's what she's talking about.
okay, okay. Yeah, yes, that's a good point to raise. Because I've actually met, I know this guy, you know, I think he watches my videos, but he would know this. He has a brother. He's from Gambia. They're all from Gambia. This guy, literally refuses, like he pretends to forget that he can no longer speak Mandinka. He's a Mandinka person. If you speak Mandinka to him, he responds in English. So obviously, he's just lying to himself, because people told me, so I deliberately, just kept speaking Mandinka, because I'm a human real life troll. So I kept speaking Mandinka, and he responds with the correct response. So that proves that he didn't forget the language. He's just being a clown. You cannot just forget it. But I get that point.
Treat, like, are they actually Ghanaian? So why is it the opposite?
Yes, if they have the Ghanaian passport, again, like I said, it's about economics. And I want Africans and other people to understand that. Why would a Polish person, for example, leave Poland to be a citizen of Ghana? Maybe they see business ventures advantages and they take hold of it. But in fact, most African countries, especially West African, people don't get it. It's not that easy to be a citizen there, even for the other Africans. So African Caribbean, if I tell you that, you know where Gambia is, right?
Yep.
You see the map. So if I tell you that it is very common for Gambian immigration officers to go around and round up people from Senegal and deport them, would you believe me?
I could believe that.
Yeah. Like literally, I remember we would be in transportation, they would stop the van, there's checkpoints, the immigration, we're all Africans, black people. In fact, majority of their target are the Fullers from Guinea. They would ask for the permits, IDs, and if they cannot produce it and they're foreigners and their permit is expired, they would round them up. They would go to their businesses, shut them down, round them up and deport them. Like deport. So who knew that African countries deport other Africans? Mind you, Gambia is literally inside of Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine they're deporting Senegalese. And it was a common thing where in Angola they have Gambians especially people from my tribe. These people would deport, Gambians. This is why, even like growing up, I never had the interest to want to go to any other African country that I'm not a native of. Because you don't get the treatment as far as I used to know. If you're African, you are not that free. I see it even in the Gambia where they would round people up. I've seen it when I lived in Sierra Leone as a child. They would round up Gambians. Same thing. So you live in the Western world. You don't face the same thing unless you don't have the papers. In the Western world, it's like a game. They have this system set up. They're like, hey, if you can figure this out, you win. It's a fair system. So to me, it's like my playground. I fit right in. I understand the Constitution. I understand how things are set up. I know how to navigate it. Why wouldn't I take advantage of it? But African people, they want you to continue acting like your ancestors did thousands of years ago. That's in the past. That no longer exists. And we see how that even served the people. You gotta be you. You gotta use common sense and take advantage of things.
When Africans come to the West and now they're automatically American, they're Canadian.
No, not automatically. You have to have a green card, then eventually become a citizen for you to be a Canadian or an American.
They're English, they're Italian. It's like you're everything but African. I find that to be very, very strange and very weird. Like when you as an immigrant take someone else's culture and then you say it's yours, what are you saying about your own culture is the question I have for some of those people.
But now you gotta ask the individual, what is their cultural principle? So maybe you might be looking at the person and projecting your own culture onto this person, thinking they have to view the world the way you see it. Because many Africans make that mistake too. Because I've met people, they would say to me, oh, you're African? No, you're not African. You don't talk like African. But how does an African talk? That's my question. Let's hear more.
It's just a question. Because you could lie, especially some Africans, they like to shorten their names. They have the full native name. Maybe their African name is like 10 letters, but they'll shorten it so that people could pronounce it better.
That makes sense. That's why I gave you the Olumide Olundare Egule example. See, one thing I noticed, most Africans, not all, but most, and I even see this amongst blacks too, because they're African, the nature, like the ancestry, because so some things are going to be similar, those thinkings. They are not willing to change. It's like an ego thing. It's like to make a decision that makes sense, they don't want to do that. So if it's hard to pronounce your name, if your name is Olumide Olundare Egule, obviously you're in a different culture. Even those people that come from Nigeria to Gambia, they shorten their names because it's a different culture and this is African. So if you're going to change it to make it easier, make it short, what's wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I'll say in the UK, right, with the English people, what gets me is they can pronounce, the football players here, different European football players, you can pronounce those names where you have letters that do not go together in English. You can pronounce that perfectly, but you struggle with, let's say, a Yoruba name, which pretty much, from my experience,
the Yoruba names are really, I'm not gonna lie, they're really hard to pronounce.
I
Even
don't
for
find well, maybe I don't find them hard to pronounce because I worked at a Nigerian bank. But it's generally how you see it is how you say it. Generally,
yeah, because in Gambia, a lot of the when I was there growing up, the teachers, especially most are Nigerians or Ghanaians. So I'm not gonna pretend because in the West they make everything sound offensive. No, those Nigerian names they are really hard to pronounce. They are very long. So that's not to throw shade at you know their name or whatever. For example, a Chinese person. Some of them their name is hard to pronounce. It's like look at even the president Xi Jinping. Or you get somebody, the guy's name is Mr. Jing Kung Chang. That's a mouthful. Or Mr. Pyongyang Yang. These are all Chinese names, you see? But now, you have to be someone who is been around Chinese people, you see, to be able to say this. But yeah, because even for most Africans, right? Even African people, it's hard for them to pronounce, certain European names. Amongst Europeans, the English names are easier to pronounce.
right?
But even certain Europeans, it is hard to pronounce their name.
No, but that's my point. The English, the British, well, English and British people will have no problem saying names like I don't know Petrovich or something like
Oh,
that. But when you look
Petrovich.
at when yes, some names like that, or Polish names where you have like C's and Z's and K's next to each other that in English does not make sense. It doesn't exist. They have no problem pronouncing that. But when you have an African name that is basically how you see it is how you say it, they either want to give you a completely different name or shorten it. And to me, that is an issue because again, if you could pronounce something where it doesn't even make sense in your language, but you can pronounce that, then you can at least make the same effort to pronounce other people's languages. And that's
Well,
just out of respect. Because
for me,
I wouldn't do that to you. If you told me your name,
right.
I'm not gonna look for a shortcut. I'm gonna learn how to say your name because that's what you're called. Out of respect.
No, like I'm saying, I mean, some people, sometimes some cultures, like I said, the names are difficult. But like I know a Russian truck driver many years back. Easy name, and the name matches his job. Pick up, drop off. And he happened to be a truck driver. Isn't that easy to remember? Hey, guess who's coming to bring the delivery? Pick up, drop off. So it's easy to remember that. But like I said, like some of these names, they are very difficult to pronounce. But I see it because the Africans themselves, we know this. We don't get offended by it at all. But for some reason, it is Western black people who get offended by it. So to me, it's like, dude, like, why are you feeling ashamed for me? Do you feel ashamed about an African name? Like, you have, because I had a guy once was telling me, oh, why don't you go back to Congo? So, like, to me, Congo is a cool place, But I didn't know he was using it as a racial epithet. You see? So, because I'm from Africa, I wouldn't react to that. But if he said that to like a ADOS black person, they would get offended. But they would get offended because of what they think of Congo. Because if they see Congo the way I see Congo, I wouldn't see it an insult if someone tells me, why don't you go back to Congo? I would think it's an honor for them to say that. Because when I was growing up, especially from my tribe, to go to Congo was actually a cool place for us. Congo, Angola, because we're in the diamond trade. We understand how it works, diamond, gold, and all that. So going to those places makes sense. So when we talk of citizenship, this is all part of business. It's all part of business. It doesn't mean now all of a sudden you're going to say, oh, I am no longer a Soninke, I'm no longer a Mandinka, I'm no longer this. No, you know who you are, you know what you are. But that book, that constitution is important for that to back you, because that's what governs the land. These hoteps, all that talk they do, that's not what America goes by. That's not what the white people go by. Like Dr. Umar, all this stuff he says, people don't, if you question him, he calls you a dumbass.
Yeah, but Umar's mentally ill. If you can't see that,
Wait.
listen.
Did you
if you
just
can't see that
call
there's
a prophet?
something,
Did you just call the prophet mentally ill?
Umar is mentally ill, and to me, I think he uses drugs. The way that he acts, it's not normal.
Right.
It's not normal. If anyone can take him seriously, and there are people that do take him seriously, I have to question your mental
Well,
health.
there are
But
people.
he's not right. You can see he's not firing on all cylinders. He's
No,
not all there.
but I think I would push back on that. I would disagree. You know why? Because obviously he's always able to come up with plans, and people are funding these plans. So,
But crackheads come up with plans.
yeah, but
They do.
their success rate is not the same as Dr. Umar. He's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and a crackhead will take your TV.
Right.
They're just as successful in different
He,
ways.
look, Dr. Umar wants the grits money. The grits. He wants your grits money. But
Nah, he
here,
doesn't.
but
Umar wants handcuffs and prison cell and padded cell. That's what he wants. He's not well. He don't know what he wants.
but here, I'm gonna finish this here. Let's hear what the African millennials' idea of identity crisis is.
What are you then saying about your name? That is not good enough against someone else's name?
Most African names, it's not even, if you look at, it's not even African. People are naming their kids based on religion, whether they are Christians or Muslims. You're gonna see some people, they tell you their name, especially from Gambia. You're gonna think, oh, this is African name, but it's actually a Muslim name. It's not the typical Gambian name to their culture. There are many people with that name. In fact, they are cultural names, but many name their kids according to religious, doctrine. If they're Christian, they give them Christian name. If they're Muslim, they give them Muslim name. There are some that maintain the regular, quote unquote, traditional names. But then you would meet other Africans from other places, especially Nigeria and Ghana, those areas. Yeah, mostly you would meet the people who have their original name. In Gambia, the people majority, despite religious names, that's only the first name. So in that culture, the last name is more important, because in Gambia, if I tell somebody my last name, they would know right away what tribe I am. Mm-hmm. More than likely, they would know also what village my people are from, what region, and who my relatives are. That's what that connects you to. So the last name is the most important name, not the first name. The first name can be anything, but the last name is what carries the bloodline.
It's like, I don't know. I seriously think some people are having an identity crisis, especially Africans abroad, because I keep saying this. I don't think you having citizenship to a country actually means you're from there.
Yes, that's not what they're. I don't believe they're saying they're from there. Even Africans you meet who have citizenship in the US, like myself, if you ask me where I'm from, you guys have heard me here. Where do I say I'm from? Can you hear me?
So repeat that.
No, I said, where do I say I'm from?
Oh, I mean, you say that you're from Gambia, but you also say that you're an American.
Right. Yeah. So in America, you could come from anywhere and become an American. The Constitution allows that. Some places, their Constitution do not allow that. So the smart thing to do, if you're from an African country, and you know, the world, Western world, they put restriction on Africans because Africa is economically depressed. Not only Africa, even Asian countries. There are some Asian countries, South America. This is not only Africans. It is very difficult for other people to come here. But it would be smart if you're a Gambian, if you have brains, you would do whatever it takes to move to one of these places, the United States or UK, and get that citizenship. Because these people are able to go and come whenever. But they also created a system for you to be able to take advantage of. Why would you deprive yourself of that? Like, if I say I'm an American, I'm not saying all of a sudden that's saying I'm a white person. I know that's what most people think. Because I see a lot of people, they say, oh, Afridamus loves the white people. Yes, I do. You know, I love white people, love Chinese people. I don't hate anybody. You know, like loving white people is not a diss. And I see silly Negroes always using that. Oh, you love white people. When you say that, you're only proving to me that you are a hater. Plain and simple. Because what's hating white people, you know, gotta do with you paying your bills? Let's just be real. How is that stopping you from going out there doing what you need to do to survive? Nothing. So, yeah, people get it. Nobody's confused to say you have American citizenship. All of a sudden, you think you are an Anglo-Saxon person. That's not what people are thinking. I would hope.
Know that maybe some people don't resonate with that, but I don't think that you just simply having a citizenship to a country means that you're actually significant to that country. I guess the point that I'm trying to say is you're here because you're mostly here because of an economic tax slave type of situation.
That's what everyone is here for. The Chinese, the Japanese, the Korean, the Russian, everyone. But I notice this. Everyone, it used to be when I first came to America, most Africans I met from different parts of Africa, Gambia, wherever, everyone understands. People are very, you know, like they're about their money, they're economically, you know, they're into that challenge. They're about that action. You understand that in order to be free in these countries, you got to follow those steps to become a citizen. Now that opens more doors for you. So this was like, hey, you step up to the challenge and conquer. But now, if people are saying, oh, no, this based on being confused. No. Yeah, people come here for exactly that. You've heard the beggar, the Nigerian woman that was begging. She says she went to Canada for good life, for economic reasons. So that's why people move to America and Britain. Do you think if America was poor with the weather condition, do you think those people in this at the southern border would care to come here? They wouldn't come here. You think Africans would care to come here? Nobody would. Even the Russians. They won't come here. But yeah, you're right. It's about the economic thing. And that's not a diss. I don't know why Africans, or mostly you would hear black people, you wanting the economic benefits. I don't know why they always see that as a diss. But yet, lack of economic power, that's what Africans complain about. But yet, they pretend like they don't want it. That's confusing. So if you're confused about what you're looking for, you can never find it. Look, you can have the greatest ship in the world, but if you have a captain who have no direction, who doesn't know where to go, they would just be going in circles. It doesn't matter how good the ship is, because they have no sense of direction. They are confused. They don't know what they want. I don't know that people come to the West from Africa for any other reason other than economic reasons. Maybe I'm confused.
That's kind of why you're here. That's kind of why we're here. And it works for some of us because that's what we want. We want the money, we want the opportunities, we want the jobs. But in doing that, does that actually mean that you are from that country? Because I find it weird when some Africans come here and they'll say that they're the exact same as the native person that was born here. And
I don't know Africans that think that, because I know that I cannot be a United States president, but a native-born American can. They can be U.S. presidents. I can be a governor, but I cannot be the president. And anyone that went through the process, they know this. I don't think they are confused by this.
it's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You came from Congo. You came from Senegal.
But I'm confused. What the tone of voice African millennial is speaking with towards these countries is like disdain and talking down on them, like, oh, don't pretend like America is great, but you're not even American. You're just a dirty Senegalese. That's what it sounds like. And it's like, is that what knowing your identity is about? That's confusing.
From Ghana, you came from Nigeria. You're not the exact same as somebody who was actually born here, whose parents have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. Your grandparents are back home. Your parents are probably back home. Your wife is probably back home. So how is that the same as somebody who's actually been born here? A lot of African immigrants get so offended when people call them immigrants.
What? Well, let me hear what she has to say before I answer this part.
What's so wrong about just saying that you're an immigrant? Like, what's so offensive about that? Are you not an immigrant? Why do you guys have such a negative connotation with that word? Oh, no, I'm not an immigrant. I have a passport. I did this. I did that. I live here. I can speak the language. What's wrong with saying that you're an immigrant?
If the person is naturalized, you cannot call them an immigrant. They are no longer in immigrant status, because we have to respect people's status. Because us Africans, we go around or blacks, we say, oh, white people don't respect us. But nobody disrespects the African more than the African. Because how do you not respect these individuals' status? They're American. That doesn't mean that they're saying they're Anglo-Saxon if that's your idea. But if they immigrated to America, at that time they are immigrants. They change their status from just an immigrant. This is why after you no longer, if you have a green card and you apply for a job, they would ask you for alien ID number. You would fill it out in the form. But when you become a US citizen, you no longer have to check that box. You just look at it, they ask you, are you American? On, you check the boxes, American or alien or immigrant/immigrant. So obviously there's a difference between an American like myself and an immigrant that just came here. That's just how it is. I mean, African millennial, I know you don't like hearing this, but it's the truth. Afridamus is an American, and I claim America. Plain and simple. What do you think about that, African millennial?
You mean me?
Oh, sorry. African Caribbean, my bad.
I mean, see, with this immigrant thing, this is like one of the things that the people that claim ADOS will throw around. Oh, you're an immigrant, you immigrant, and it's used in a denigrating manner to like demean you. You're just an immigrant. You're this poor person that's coming here for the opportunities. You're beneath us. You're an immigrant. That is an issue when you throw that as an insult to people. I've even been called an immigrant by ADOS people, and I'm like, but immigrant to where? I'm not even in the US.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad you said that. You notice, even like the ADOS people, that claim to be ADOS, that's the dumbest group, by the way. Because in the US, if you're born here, you're automatically a US citizen. Barack Obama's father, Barack Obama's father is a Kenyan, and he became the president of the United States. Kamala Harris, her father is Jamaican, her mom is Indian. So if you're she's an anchor baby. Just if you're born here straight, you're American citizen. So you cannot stop that. Yeah, I've seen them, they refer to Caribbeans as immigrants, Africans. They are talking about people some of them are even third, fourth generations here in America.
Yeah.
So the good thing is their feelings is not the law. The American law says otherwise. Because if you look at it, in the US Congress, they have congressmen, as you know, women who are of Caribbean descent. In fact, I think half of them might be. So, like this ADOS, they are not the ones that make the rules. The US Constitution, the white man makes the rules, and everybody else. So, to me, whatever they say online doesn't fly. That's what African millennial is doing here. I don't know any Africans, in fact, or even other people who are not Africans, that came to America and then became citizen. You call them immigrant and they get offended. Nah. In fact, we wear that like a badge of honor. We're quick to tell you that we're immigrants, just to show you that we're pulling ourselves by our bootstraps. Plain and simple.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like growing up, because I used to ask my grandma a lot of questions and stuff about coming to this country, and it's the go home nigger, blah blah blah, all that stuff that she had to go through. But her and my granddad worked, I think, was it like 6 or 7 jobs between them?
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of jobs as immigrants, raising 3 kids out of one bedroom with a sink in it that they all had to live in for a while as immigrants. being able to raise their family, send their children to higher education and all this sorts of stuff. It's like, yeah, you can call me an immigrant. I do understand the venom why they throw it, but yeah, you can call them immigrants, but they work hard, and
Look,
that's the pride. You work hard as an immigrant. You come to a country, right? You do what you have to do. You don't make an excuse. You find a job, even those low paying jobs that no one wants to do. It's the same thing in this country. With this whole Brexit thing that the country has gone through, that was a lot of it was based on immigration. It's these immigrants, they're taking our jobs. You don't want to do the job, so we'll take those jobs. And I'll
yeah,
say we because okay, I'm a product of immigration. If my grandparents hadn't migrated, I wouldn't have been born.
right.
So you know they take these cheap cleaning jobs and all these jobs that no one wants to do. These thankless jobs that they work for 50 odd years, and they pay their money into the system and whatnot. They're hardworking people. Why would you throw something like immigrant at them to insult them? They work hard. All them years that they toiled because they did the jobs that no one else wanted to do. What's wrong with that?
Look, this is why, for me, I know people who their only dream, is they're here in America. They just want to be approved, to be given a working permit so they can just work. But there are people who are born here. They say, "Oh, I'm a native of America. I was born here. I'm this and that." But they don't work. They don't contribute to the economy. They just cry. You see? So, for example, if someone calls me, say to me, "Oh, you're an immigrant in America," you think I would care? I wouldn't care because in fact, I'm proud of it. I worked hard. I continue to work hard. And that's what it's all about. So when she said it's about economics, if that's not what it's about, I don't know what it should be about. I mean, what? I'm just gonna come to America and sit around and keep trolling my fingers? Or as Audrey said, Afridamus loves his white masters. I don't have white masters. In fact, Audrey, believe it or not, I would be, in the context, I'll be considered the master because I employ the people. So, when that African male diaspora, wouldn't I be considered the master then? Since I make the rules?
I mean, if you're hiring people, it's
Yeah,
your company.
yeah,
You call the shots, and yeah, you're the master
exactly.
in that business.
Yeah. So that's what America is about. Because I don't want to go to one of these African countries, South Africa, Angola. They start seeing you progressing. They're like, "Oh, this guy is not from here, West Africa." They get jealous, burn down your business as they do to the West Africans over there. And then these same people turn around and they talk about, "Oh, we want black unity. Oh, the white man is oppressed. Oh no, you guys are hateful." Because we see exactly what is happening. But to me, I don't have the time to tell those people what not to do or what to do. You just use common sense. You go to the place where you're welcome at, the place that laid a constitution that would favor you, that would give you the advantages to do the things that you want to do. That's what common sense would dictate. But why go to a place where you gotta be fighting with the people? You have to complain about not being given a paper. Now, pretty soon, they want to classify you into their weird classifications. Like me, when they say African American, that term, it worked perfect for me because think about it. I was born in Africa. I came to America. I became the citizen. So I fit right in the group. So these ADOS people complaining, talking about, "Oh, the Africans are claiming our identity." No, it's not your identity. The white man gave it to you. And the white man put out forms. So what am I supposed to do? Oh, argue with the white people? Nah. I know what I am. They say, fill out the box. I fill out the African American box because I'm American and an American from Africa. So I'm not lying. I am filling out the box. But now, you as an American, if you're born here, it's pretty stupid for you to call yourself an African American because you weren't born in Africa. You should call yourself Black American because in Africa, do you know that in Gambia, people refer to black people as Black American instead of African American? Did you know this? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I said, did you know that they refer to black people from America in Gambia as Black American instead of African American?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes. So that's how I knew. Remember the video that I analyzed about Hammond and his brother with the scheme? That's how I knew it was a scheme because they were they kept trying to refer to them as African American. It's like somebody who put up the screenplay is the one calling them that. Because when I left Gambia, I come in here throughout my life, we know black people in America as Black American. So when I came to America, the African American thing was a new thing because I used to sit there. I said, hey, I'm going to go to America and become an African in America. So little did I know, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know the blacks were already prefixing themselves. They prefix themselves right out of their own country. But people like me, we are embracing it. We're going to enjoy all the advantages that is there to be enjoyed. Plain and simple, unapologetically.
You're a foreigner. What's wrong with saying that? Like, why do people get so offended?
But why are you so ticked about people not calling themselves foreigners? That's pretty evil. You want them to think of themselves as less than. Amazing.
The Africans, when you call them immigrant, they get so offended. It's like, is my English not good enough? Like, what do you, why are you offended? You are an immigrant. You came from a different country. If you're a second generation immigrant, you're still an immigrant. Why do people not get that? They get so offended. It's like, but I was born here. And so.
Yes. African Caribbean, if somebody in England calls you a foreigner, wouldn't you be offended?
Not really, no. I mean, maybe about 4 weeks ago, I got told to fuck off and go back to my own country.
No,
So,
but what I'm saying, like, realistically, would you see that as someone who is logical or they're making sense?
I mean, you wouldn't be making sense, but I wouldn't really take offense to it.
Right. No, and my thing is, I don't know any African or even immigrant, even you meet other, even Russians, other people here in America, they will tell you when you're having conversation, they will tell you that they are immigrants here.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, people will tell you. No, people. I don't know that. No one. I don't know people that get offended. But if you are going around calling the people that are born here immigrants, then you're wrong, and they're right for correcting you. That doesn't mean they're pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, they can correct you.
You're still
Absolutely.
an immigrant.
I could say that.
Yeah, they can correct you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you, okay, I'm not actually an immigrant. I was born here. I'm not, my roots are not of this country,
Right.
but I'm not an immigrant. I was born here, raised here, went to school here.
Mm-hmm.
My birth certificate states that I was born here. But I wouldn't take offense, really.
Right.
You're not native to here. Your grandparents did not come here and say that they discovered this land, right? So
But if the person is born here in America, they are a native of America now. Because you see, the white people came here from Europe and the Indians were here. I mean, we all know the story. They went to war. The white people fought harder than the Indians, and the white people won the land. See? So I know people like to twist the story, but those are just made up stories because it's like two forces went head to head, just like the Himbas and the Khoisan people. The Himbas won. They kicked the Khoisan out of that land. So same thing.
the great grandchildren of those people are going to ask you, where do you come from? Because we don't remember reading about your people in the textbooks.
Now she's using the white man's description of the person. Now, okay, if you want to dish the person, why don't we cannot treat it like a Chinese buffet to nitpick. We have to go all the way through. Okay, you're saying it's not in the white man's book, but that's wrong. They talk about it. But what about the U.S. Constitution saying that person is a U.S. citizen? So you respect their books, but just some of the books, not the actual one that governs the land. So we can't do that. If you're going to go by what is written, let's go all the way.
That is what they're thinking in their heads. But Africans they'll have meltdowns. They'll sit there and be like, no, I'm Spanish. I'm in Spain. I'm Spanish. And it's like, whoa, I thought you were from Africa. What happened?
Do we have black Spanish in the house? African millennial doesn't want you to claim Spain, so think about that.
I mean, you have Latin American people that call themselves Spanish, and to me that does blow my mind, because you're not a Spaniad.
No,
But for you to call yourself Spanish, that doesn't make sense.
see, I've worked with people from different places, Mexico, Honduras, you name it. So a lot of the things you hear, because I've heard black people say, oh, these Hispanics, they want to be white. No. Maybe there are some, but majority no. Yes, they call themselves Hispanic, but you know what's to say they are not. That's the culture they grow up in. That's what they assimilate in. Their language is Spanish. But they understand that they are not like white European. When they say Spanish, they are talking of the culture. Because if we don't call them that, what would you call them?
I mean, you see, to me, a Hispanic is either a Haitian or a Dominican. They live in Hispaniola. That's Hispanic, as far as I'm concerned.
What if someone is from Honduras?
I guess you would be considered Latin American or just Honduran, but
Yeah.
you do share similar traits, i.e., you do speak Spanish, and there are similar, what's the word? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. There's similar cultural traits and things like that. But to me, it's just calling yourself Spanish. It kind of indicates that you're trying to call yourself a Spaniard. You just speak Spanish. That
No.
would be like me calling myself English because in my island we speak English.
No, like my understanding, interacting with Mexicans and people from those cultures, they are not saying they are of their own separate culture. Because even the way they speak the Spanish and the way it's spoken in Spain is different.
Yeah.
So they are not like, they have Spanish influence, but they have their own way of doing things. So when they say Hispanic, they are speaking of the commonality. Because when we talk of Gambia, right? The place they call Gambia, there was never, it wasn't like a centralized government until the British established that to unite all the tribes. All the other tribes had their own areas, their own territory. Even today, you go to some villages, you would find that some villages, everyone is Mandinka or everyone is Jola, everyone is Wolof. This is normal. So the mixture is in, big cities. So there is no doubt, because I have seen it, there's no doubt that the only thing you would get from saying you only want to interact with, quote unquote, your tribe or just the people you know, is only a disadvantage. Because once you leave that environment, and then what? So you have to learn things that is universal. So people, instead of, like, I'm speaking English, but I don't say, oh, I'm an Englishman. I'm utilizing the language as a tool, which is what it is, as a tool to communicate with the people of the world. Speaking the English language allows me to reach a wider audience. If I was speaking in my mother tongue right now, all of you that are watching me here wouldn't understand what I'm saying. So therefore, I wouldn't be reaching a whole lot of people. So you have to do what is advantageous. It doesn't mean that your language or your mother tongue is inferior. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. But it has everything to do with common sense. If I speak one language, I can reach 10 million, but this other one, I can only reach 100 people. Why would I just want to stick? Which one do you think I would go for? So it doesn't mean that you hate your language or quote unquote culture. Culture is a man-made thing. So it's not constant. This is why you see in the wilderness, you look in the lion, like in the pride. When a male lion, a younger male lion comes and conquers the pride, they drive off the former head of that tribe, and every offspring that's there, they kill those offsprings because they don't want to pass on the other lion's culture. Fresh and simple. You come with your own culture. So culture is not really that big of a deal as people are trying to make it to be. Because some cultures are stupid. Whether people want to admit it or not, they're pretty dumb.
But can you give me an example of what would be a dumb culture? Because I would disagree with that.
So, okay, for instance, right? Okay, you're a woman in the UK. So, from the time you were born, right? Are you married?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So think about from the time you were born, you're a little kid, but you are part of a culture where this culture, from the time you were a baby, it is acceptable for somebody to wife you up. Doesn't mean anything physical, but now this person have picked you. This is acceptable in that culture. They will wife you up, and when you come of age, there's no opposing. You are going to marry this individual. What do you think about that culture? Imagine, like, if that were your culture, would you think it's a stupid culture or not?
if that was my culture, it would all depend, because if I'm just in the culture and I know nothing different, it's not gonna mean anything to me. It's just what it is, right? If I'm outside of my cultural hub and I have different ideas, I might view it as something problematic.
No,
But it
what I'm saying is, right? You're in that culture, it's your culture. You go to school, you start meeting different people. You're interacting, and it's not like you're like cut off from other people, civilizations, because that's why I say culture is man-made. It only works if you are just you and you able to get the other people to accept your way of thinking. But the moment that culture goes against other culture, you start seeing different. You can poke holes in it. So you start going to school, but this is your culture. You're interacting with other people. You're meeting other boys. You're meeting men, and now you start liking somebody different, right? You start liking someone different, and you would think that all of you would. Do you think your culture would hold any meaning to that, to what you truly desires, what's best for you as an individual, versus in your culture where decisions were made for you as a baby?
I don't know if I can answer that, because my culture doesn't necessarily put restrictions or certain things on you from a baby. It's not really like that.
But
If
but if
if
there is a culture that does that, do you think that law is a good culture or a dumb one?
I don't have an opinion. It's up to them. If that's what works for them, that's what works for them.
No, no,
I'm
no,
not
no.
of the culture.
No, but
It's
this
not
is
for me
not.
to say it's good or dumb.
No, what I'm saying, knowing what you know now. Because have you gone to school with people from maybe like Pakistan or places like that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Definitely in London.
okay. So some of those cultures, right? There are some of the things, the ways they do things is similar to some tribes from where I come from, and also depending on the religion, they practice similar things. And they would have their, you have your kid, they go to school, like maybe some kid going to school with you in London. So now they are not only exposed to that culture where now they've had a spouse since they were babies. Now they started going to the
Right.
London school. They know different now. They see different boys. They like different people. But it's cultural. They cannot go against what whatever that is. Somebody made that decision years ago for her. This is what the culture is. Do you think the person should follow that dumb quote unquote culture, or just say, oh, I should just go for it? Because there are people experiencing that. So you would become aware of it. So that's why I kept saying, knowing what you know now, if somebody tries to restrict you of that.
I would say if you're being restricted and it's going against what you want for your life, then go against it. I would say, if it doesn't mean that your life is in jeopardy, because okay, if you use the Pakistani community as an example, sometimes their lives are at risk. They will go as far as killing somebody
But
in
but
order
it's a
to maintain quote unquote honor,
but it's
which
a
I think
stupid culture.
personally is yeah, right. Now, I'm not going to say the whole culture is stupid. That aspect of the culture I think is ridiculous.
Oh
We don't
no,
have that. We're not accustomed to it.
that's what I'm not saying. Every single thing is. I'm talking about. That's why I said it's man-made. There are aspects of culture, because even the pan-africanists, that the things they say is an idea that they're trying to turn into a culture. So if a lot of people accept it and go with it, it would become a culture. So it is man-made. It is not set in stone. Right?
Right.
So that's what I mean. So some of the cultures, some parts of them, is pretty stupid. So that's why when people say culture, culture, what are you talking about?
I mean, I like culture because it gives you a background and an understanding of different types of people, right? There are certain aspects of cultures that are ridiculous, but some other cultures might not view it as ridiculous. It all depends on the person. Certain things I think is universal where it's like, maybe not, we shouldn't be doing this. But I wouldn't say, it's up to those people. If it works for them, it works for them.
But you
That's how
see,
they see it. That's how they see it.
but
It's
you
like, look
see,
at the Himba people that we was
yes.
talking about
Oh,
earlier.
yeah, the
If it
Himba,
works for them, it works for them.
yeah, the Himba people, it's okay to be a slut or a slut maker. You see,
But they
but
may not view it as that. That's how we see it from the perspective here. But also in Western culture, whoredom is fine. If you want to be a whore, then that's okay. That now they promote that. Now it's okay for you to be a whore because guess what? You're gonna have Amber Rose saying, "Let's go slut walk." Now, to me, that is I could never get behind that. There's a lot of things in Western cultures that I think are just backwards.
right,
You can be anything you want to be now. Guess what? I could wake up tomorrow and say, I identify as a garden hose, and you have to respect that.
yeah, but
And that's just the culture.
okay, but you see, right? Again, that proves my point that culture is man-made, because in Western culture, if you can be whatever you want to be, there are people who are choosing, like a man would say they're a woman, or a woman saying they're a man. They are making that choice as an individual around a culture that accepts that, but it doesn't mean that makes sense. It doesn't
Right.
mean it's a clever thing. That's the point I'm making. Because, like, somebody, like, for example, the unapologetic Negropean wanted to talk about the Himba people. He wants, because he's speaking about it in a Western context. Because in the West, slaughtery is accepted to be sluts or slut makers, but then they want to shame it. So obviously with the Himbas, they don't shame being a slut. But he's speaking to it in a Western way to us and adding his Western ideas about it and saying, oh, this guy is presenting these people as something that they are not. But no, I've seen other videos. Okay? Yeah, the Himbas, the ladies there, they couldn't speak the white man's language or the other dude's language, but they made sure the person translated it. And I heard the translation. Like, it kind of shocked me. I was like, damn, they want to get some bush freak going on here. What is going on? And other ladies came out. I was like, man, these Himba ladies are pretty horny, So that's not the camera it's not the camera making them do that. But fine, if you don't think they should be a slut, that's your problem. Or if you don't think that's a good culture, you don't have to practice it. Because like where I come from, right? You can have up to 4 wives. The culture accepts that. But in America, if you say that to American women or Western women, they would say that's pretty stupid culture. They would totally go against it. But that is a great culture where I come from. You see?
But
So,
Western culture would allow you to go out and have multiple kids with multiple people and claim money for the kids. That's stupid too.
oh, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you cannot have, extra wives, but you can have up to 10 girlfriends if you want to, as long as you don't put it on paper. The culture accepts that. But in my culture, you cannot do that. That's frowned upon. You cannot go talking about girlfriend. That's not what it works. You either married or not. But in Western culture, it's different. And my culture would say this is stupid. So that's why I said it's all the human thinking. So you got to do what works for you and works for other people around you.
I just, I thought you were, I'm sorry. I assumed that you had an African name, an African first and last name. You talk about how your family is back home. So I thought that you were African. But when someone from Spain sits there and says that you're not Spanish, even though you can speak the language, even though you went to college there, even though you went to school there, then you as an African, you want to get offended? What's really going on here? Isn't this an identity crisis?
I don't think so. That's the end of the video. But this came from the ADOS the ADOS light skinned lady that in fact I saw where somebody challenged her and told her that she shouldn't be speaking on behalf of blacks. She should be speaking on her behalf. But before we close down, I want to ask you about a quick topic. We can do a quick 5 minutes on it. You being from England and Juliet is also from there. When you first started hearing about this land situation and her behavior around it, how did you process all this?
I heard about it. I said, all right, I hear one side. Let me look into who this person is because I'd always heard Black sit, but I'd never really looked into it. It's not my bag of it's not my bag of chips. Like my focus is more on just the Caribbean, where my family come from, and how we can make our region better. So I looked into it, and off the rip, I could just off the body language and the way that she carries on, it just wasn't sitting well with me. She never quite sat right with me. And then to find out all of this inconsistencies and this strong, to me it's like you're strong arming a country into giving you their passport. I don't find that acceptable.
Were you surprised or shocked to see that a British woman, went over there in Africa to demand
Yeah, I was shocked.
citizenship?
Yeah, I'm shocked because listen, you're not even from there. Number one, you're not from the Gambia, right? If you want to do if you want to do anything charitable or help a poorer nation, Jamaica has plenty of problems for you to pick from.
Right.
We know this. So how's about you take all that energy? And I'm not saying that you can't go to Africa and help out, but to me, I feel like she's imposing herself on a country what she has no business doing. If you really want to help out, if you want to be productive, I suggest you go and help Jamaica. Because what I find it quite hypocritical with UK a lot of UK Pan-Africanists of Caribbean origin. It's like they just ignore where their actual family are currently at this point, and then just everything is focused on Africa, 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 and that's fine. You can take pride. My thing is this, right? I don't ignore Africa because I can't ignore Africa because my ancestors come from Africa, right? And my
Right.
culture is partly derived from Africa, or mostly really, and
Mm-hmm.
it's got other influences mixed in. So I can't ignore it. However, we actually have countries that we come from where
Mm-hmm.
our families live. We didn't just spawn in the UK from Africa. We
Right.
came from somewhere.
Right.
So to me, it's a bit hypocritical of you to focus on somewhere that you don't have a direct connection to. But the place that you do have a connection to, you don't look at it, but you now want to go to another country that you have no relationship to and strong arm them and try and get all of these things done that you know for a fact you could not do it in your own country. And I find that to be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, because that brings us to where do you like what do you think her perception is of African people for her to even think that, about, saying such a thing?
They're
Because,
dirt poor
huh?
and they're stupid. And if you, I think that she thinks that they're dirt poor, stupid, and if she throws enough pennies and shows enough teeth, then she'll get what she wants. And to me, it's just a lack of respect. I can't imagine we would have a problem, right? If anyone, whether you be African or non-African, whatever, and you came over to Jamaica and said, right, we want citizenship for our entire diaspora,
Right.
we would
That's
have a problem
crazy.
with that.
That's
It
like,
doesn't make sense.
for me, it made me laugh, but I know how Gambian people operate. Yeah, that's just YouTube talk. She can visit the president all she wants. If that guy opens his mouth and say that, it would be the end of him. Like, it would be it would be the end, because I know, like, if they explain it and they say, oh yeah, they're gonna be citizen and start voting, Gambians don't take too kindly to things like that.
And neither
Because
would Jamaicans. Jamaica,
exactly.
listen, we've had bloody political history. You can say that the 1980 elections was damn near a civil war.
Or even the
900 people died,
70s.
at least. At least 900 people died in that election over politics. You had these politicians arming gunmen, taking each other out, killing each other on the streets, right? And then exporting that foolishness to, different countries, and, all this stuff that's proceeded on from that, right? So for you to now go into another country and you're trying to impose yourself into their constitution, I don't understand how you can even remotely think that that's fine. And if you're going to use, we're returning home from slavery and all, that's not an excuse. That doesn't cut
But
it. That
but
doesn't
what
make
if she
sense.
makes an argument that she's paving the road for people like you so you can come in? She's like, look, I'm doing this for you. Also, when you come in,
She's
so
doing it for herself.
right,
She's only doing this. Because listen, she can't wait 15 years. She can't wait at least 15 years to get citizenship so that she can start calling herself a land agent, right?
right,
Everything has to be done now so that everyone else can come in and do this land agency thing. But we have to consider as well,
right,
when it comes to this citizenship thing, right? And you're talking about the diaspora. There's, I think, let's say 70 million people, give or take, for the Black diaspora.
right,
North America, South America, Central America, Europe, about 70 million of us. 1% is what, 700,000 people? The Gambia is the tiniest country in
it's
mainland
less than
Africa.
2 million. Actual
Oh,
Gambians is less than 2
less than
million.
2 million. Right. So it's less than 2 million actual Gambian people in a country that is literally engulfed by Senegal. And let's say that out of that 700,000 people, I don't know, 10% of them wanted to move into the Gambia. It's too much. That's too much people. The country can't handle that. So even though people say, oh, well, not everyone is going to want to go to Africa, that's not the point. When you still do the numbers, that's still a lot of people. And you're
Absolutely.
putting all that strain on a country that isn't going to be able to handle it. Our countries in the Caribbean can't even handle the population. We have all these incompetent people that are greedy, that don't care, and they can't even handle a population of 250,000 properly. So what does
So,
it look like now, making your passport and your citizenship available to potentially 70 million people?
well, even the locals, they will not be able to economically compete, because see, even what she doesn't know, it's like, if you exhaust the land like that and you're demanding these things, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb, and you're going to create enemies that you don't need to create. So before we wrap up here, are you planning on going to Africa to meet up with the hoteps and the pan-africanists?
Absolutely not. When I do go to Africa, I'm hoping to go to Nigeria, southeastern Nigeria, and I don't want to be around. You know, like how some people, they'll escape the UK and they run into people in from the UK and other countries and they get annoyed. I don't want to see no hoteps. I don't want to hear no peace, my brother, peace, my sister, hotep, I don't want to hear it. When I go to Nigeria, I just want to go there to learn, study, and relax. That's it. I don't want to have nothing to do with none of this foolishness.
You don't want to be a part of the hotep club?
Absolutely not.
Thank you for coming in. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for taking the invitation, and you can always come here. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the African Caribbean Diaspora tribe. You guys know she always speaks her mind. She doesn't hold back. As far as when it comes to the hotep beggary, you guys know that about her. But before we close out, would you like to give a pan-africanist prayer to the church?
All right, Heavenly Hotep, we want to thank you for the Hotep beggary, because we need to fund the church and we need you to turn in your African passports as soon as possible. Heavenly Hotep, we just want to say thank you for all the money, all the views, all the likes and dislikes, because the YouTube algorithm is what keeps us paid. And
right.
we just want to pray that there's going to be more starving African children so that we can build boreholes and make ourselves look good. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. That was Deacon, African Caribbean tribe. You guys heard her. Do exactly as she said. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be closing out now. Thank you.